Hey guys, just want to give you a quick little disclaimer here before we get this show started. Anytime we move locations, we're susceptible to some type of audio issue. We've got to unplug everything, replug it back in. We were told due to COVID regulations we're no longer able to shoot in the TLD building for a little while. So we moved over to Pro Circuit. Mitch was kind enough to let us do that, but it did catch us with a glitch here this time, and you're going to hear the audio a little off the first little bit of the show. For no particular reason, it switches over and sounds fine the second half. We do have a fix coming. We had to buy an adapter for something that should get rid of this completely, but bear with us. It's one of those learning things, you know, and like I said, every time we have to move locations, we have an issue. It's the second time it's happened. It's frustrating, but we're on it. Thank you guys for supporting us, and enjoy the show.
The Whiskey Throttle Show, now available on the Spot Network, an independent standalone streaming platform, live now on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Android TV, most smart TVs, and all phones and tablets. Look for future live shows and specials only available on Spot Network. Download the app today on your favorite device. Coming to you from Pro Circuit in Corona, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show. Brought to you by Yamaha, the leaders in the power sports industry. Motocross bikes, street bikes, adventure bikes, generators, side-by-sides, quads, boats. Yamaha sets the standard. Yamaha revs your heart. Today's guest is presented by PowerDot, the world's smartest muscle recovery and performance tool. PowerDot takes proven electronic muscle stimulation technology and packs it into a sleek, lightweight, easy-to-use pod that is completely controlled from your smart device. Today's show brought to you in part by Method Race Wheels, the strongest, lightest, fastest wheels in off-road. Method dominates the off-road racing market, and they have wheels for your truck, spreader, SUV, Jeep, or van. Troy Lee Designs, built for the world's fastest racers. Troy Lee Designs blends elite level protection with a history of industry-leading style and performance. From motocross gear to custom paint to bicycle protection, Troy Lee Designs is waiting for you on the next level. Shawn Norfolk has been working in the industry for over 30 years. From artist to marketing manager to sales director, he's seen it from every angle. He's also one of the funniest guys in the sport and one of the best storytellers we know. And now, here's the host of the Whiskey Throttle Show, David Pingree.
It's August 2021, and we're coming to you from a little bit different location today. Welcome to the Whiskey Throttle Show. I'm your host, David Pingree. COVID regulations have dictated that we can't operate out of TLD for the moment, so Mitch was gracious enough to let us come down to Pro Circuit here and use the facility. So we want to say thanks to Pro Circuit for letting us come down. We've got an interesting guest today. It's going to have a little bit different feel. Shawn Norfolk and I have been buddies for a long, long time. This guy's worked in the industry in so many different capacities, which is what makes this story so fun. I think I was calculating about 328 years you've been in this sport?
On July.
July, that's what I was thinking, yeah. Renthal, 661, Cinesolo, TLD, Goat Eyewear, and many more. But Shawn's kind of seen it all, done it all. You probably know his brother Skip worked for Jeremy. Just a big part of the moto family for a long, long time. So Shawn, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Stoked to have you. And we were neighbors for a little while.
Yeah, we were.
We've got a lot of fun history, so we're going to have some good stories.
It's kind of going to be a little more comedy than normal.
Maybe.
It's
going to be, like I said, it's going to have a different. We're going to start out like we always do with the Method Race Wheels front end chatter, though. Bringing you the lightest, strongest, fastest wheels in off-road if you guys are looking for a wheel. Truck, van, sprinter, SUV, or UTV, all your side-by-side stuff, they make it all. 20% off using our code Whiskey Throttle, so go check out methodracewheels.com. Let's start with this, man, because I know you get asked this a lot as a guy who's had all these industry jobs. What's the best thing, two-part question, the best thing about working in this industry and the worst thing about working in this industry?
The best thing is, if you're working in it, you love it anyway, and you're never felt like you were going to work.
Yeah.
So I rarely felt like you were going to work. It was like, and you had to work weekends, like I had to work weekends, right? So it's like, you probably hated testing, you probably hated training and all that shit, but you did it for Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
So the races would come, and it was like, I had to go work. Didn't get paid for it, you get paid from Monday to Friday, but dude, we traveled around, and like that was the fun part. Got to see my friends race and do all that stuff, and then get on a plane Sunday night and be at the office. That was the coolest part. Is just so I moved from Maryland to California for moto to work in the industry because I couldn't race in it anymore, and it's like a whole second family, literally. I mean, we've been friends like 30 years, and we could not talk for 5 months and shoot you a text. Next thing you know, we have like a bunch of laughing emojis for the next 2.5 days. It's just family.
Well, that's
the coolest part.
I think the neat thing, like if I got asked that question, I would say it's the people that you make these friendships with forever, right? Because you are working, you all have this mutual thing that you love. And so despite all your other differences or whatever the hell else is going on in your life, when it comes down to racing, we can sit down and just talk like purely about what we, riders and this track.
Right.
Did you see this race or this battle? I know there's a connection there, and it is such a niche sport that like it's a bond that's pretty tight within the community.
Yeah,
and you see that now.
Family.
You probably feel the same way I do. I'm a little disconnected to the pro racing family right now.
Right.
But there's still like a broader sense of like the whole moto community that you're like, we'll just be in it forever.
I live in Dallas, so go to the Dallas Supercross. We're like, got to get there a couple hours early, go see the old boys or whatever. And it's like, all right, we saw Marshall, we saw Berluti.
I got an hour and 45 minutes.
I don't know anybody else, you know what I mean? Let's go grab a beer and watch practice or something. It was like, it's just different.
It changes quick, huh?
So fast.
So yeah, it's interesting, when we both held jobs inside the sport where you're inside that little community, the pro racing pits.
Right.
And then the second you go to an outer ring job where you're not involved in the day-to-day at the races, you blink and there's no one in there you recognize.
Right. It's funny because I think about like Anaheim 1, 2, 3 or whatever when I was out here living in California working. And I'd be here, I'd stay in a hotel the night before because we had press day and all that other stuff. But like my wife and kids would show up in the afternoon on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, I think I'm kind of done because, dude, at Renthal, we had most of the teams and stuff, and it was always shit. I was getting yanked this way, yanked that way. I think something happened. We need to measure something and like whatever. But it's like, okay, practice is over. Got the family. We're gonna walk through. We're gonna grab something to eat with someone or whatever. Boom, I'm over here. Boom, I'm over there. Boom, and my wife and kids are like talking to like J-Bone's family or whatever, and I'm like, all of a sudden, when finally the race started is when I finally got to relax. And then you get out of the industry and you go to the races, and it's so much easier to just be a fan.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting pulled anywhere. But it was weird. My son used to joke about it all the time. Well, I guess Dad, we're never even going to see the race. Dad, just keep going talking. You know what I mean? He was like 6 or whatever, but they didn't dig that at all. But that's just how it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind it. That's what you did.
They have to try to understand that. My wife she doesn't like to come to anything. And once in a while I'll drag, like, come on, just come peek into my world over here.
Right.
And it's the same thing. I got her, I'm holding her hand walking through the pits, and we're getting stopped every 30 feet talking to somebody. And she's like,
Yeah, again.
no, I don't know who this guy is. I don't care about anything that they're saying. She couldn't be less interested.
Right.
But she's a good sport about it. But anyway. What about the worst side of it?
The worst side would be making way less money than you thought you were going to make, especially at the beginning. And literally, if you broke it down by the hour, you'd been better off pumping gas. If you break it down by the hour, you just did it because you loved it, and hopefully you could work your way up. And even when I was at Renthal, I think I did a magazine interview, someone asked me a question about it. I'm like, you're doing it because you love doing it, and you just hope it works out.
Yeah.
That was it.
It's kind of stupid.
It's dumb. Like, it's the dumbest shit ever.
It's not a good plan.
Like, oh, look, he's in the industry, he must be killing it. Nah, I'm like living off a Discover card that I have a $2,500 limit on, and I'm eating top ramen, dude. I was a top ramen dude. Get this, my son recently moved out in the last couple of years, and he's like, I found this apartment. I'm 18, I'm moving out. I'm like, well, do you know you have to pay for electricity? You're just trying to walk him through all this stuff. And I told him when I moved to California, which that whole story is a funny one too. But I moved into my apartment in Wyatt Seals. We're in, I don't know, somebody, the Peak Pro Circuit box fan. Got all my shit in the back. And Wyatt drives me up to Valencia, and we're going to move into my apartment. And I go in there, I'm like, there's no fridge. So I go down to like the main, I'm like, hey, is there another apartment I can move into? This one doesn't have a fridge. And this little young girl, she's like my age, 20 something. She like starts laughing at me. I'm like, no, I'm serious. There's not a fridge there. She goes, you don't get a fridge when you rent an apartment here. I'm like, what? So I went to Big Five and bought like a 50-quart thermos cooler or Coleman cooler, whatever, a 20-pound bag of ice, and it had like 12-pack of beer, tuna fish cans, and top ramen. That was my fridge until I found one literally like 3 months later at a garage sale for $40. And that fridge is in my garage in Dallas right now, still
No,
kicking.
it's not.
Yeah, it's my beer fridge in the garage. Swear to God. Yeah, so I didn't even have a fridge. I was in the industry though.
And you were doing
Crushing it, yeah.
Well, let's get to your story, because it's funny as hell. There's some good stories in here. Shaw's brought to you here today by PowerDot. Get over to PowerDot.com and check out those devices, which are incredible, used by pretty much every top racer, top athlete around the world for recovery, injury prevention, injury maintenance. 20% off using our code Whiskey Throttle. Check those guys out. So you mentioned you grew up in Maryland. Tell me a little bit about what that was like and where in Maryland.
We were farm town.
Okay.
A little town called Owings, Maryland. It's about 30 minutes from Budds Creek.
Okay.
You know, that was kind of one of our two local tracks, and just an old country boy. You know.
And you and Skip, only two brothers? Or were you?
No, we got a younger brother named Scott. He actually still lives back there.
Okay.
He still lives back there.
Did he not get into the
Yeah,
moto world?
he did.
Okay.
He did not. We did it from. So the way it happened was, we didn't have. There wasn't a street light in our town. Like there wasn't a street light, and this is true. So our house was here. Roush Funeral Home was next to us, and the Methodist Church in the cemetery was over here to the left. That's where we lived.
That's pretty awesome.
On Mount Harmony Road, right? But it's yeah, Halloweens were fun.
I'll bet.
But I guess we were, you know, I'm like 2 or something. That's the story my mom and dad told me. And it was like, sounded like a bunch of bees buzzing or something, and there was this dust cloud, you know, across the street down there. I'm like, what's that? So we got in the truck and drove down there, and it was a dirt bike race. And I guess we were all we got to go dirt bike racing. This is the coolest thing we've ever seen. I couldn't even ride a bicycle yet. So you can ride a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike, and my younger brother's, you know, he's only a year younger than me, but Skip's probably 5, and I'm, you know, 2. It was like, you learn how to ride a bicycle, we'll let you ride a motorcycle. I'm 2. So Skip could ride a bicycle, and he wanted to go race too. He's like, we're teaching you how to ride a bicycle.
You're going to learn to
Yeah, it's like gravel driveway, and he just put me on the bike and run behind me and push me, and I was just like, so I had like no knee skin and everything, but finally made it to the bottom. All of a sudden I'm riding, we're like, so when do we get dirt bikes? And I raced my first race like 10 days after my 3rd birthday
Is that right?
in the Pee-wee
And
class.
did your parents race, or you just
No.
saw that race and you
No,
guys
that was
did?
it. You know, my dad was a boat guy. He worked at a boat shop selling boats, and he was like a Mercury outboard mechanic guy, and he was in the boat world.
And so what year would that have been when you guys
73.
73.
73.
What was the bike? You guys
Indian, I had an Indian Mini, I think it was called an MM5. Skip had a Rupp, pole start, like,
Okay.
dude, Rupp Black Widows were it. They were
Yeah.
like KTM 50s in a world of
Is it like,
Z50s.
what was that Honda bike that had the step-through thing in the middle?
The Cub?
Not the Cub, it was way before the Cub. Maybe it was just their one,
I don't know. I went to the MR50 like Mitch has back here. That was
Yeah.
like my 2nd or 3rd bike, I think.
so how long until you guys raced?
10 years after, 10 days after my 3rd birthday, we probably raced like within 6 weeks of learning
You
how
got
to
the
ride a
bike and just went racing?
Yeah, I don't know if they borrowed them or whatever, but I sent you a picture of my first bike.
Yeah, we'll plug
That picture's so 70s too. Like you can see my mom, she's got like a Virginia Slims that's 1.5 feet long. There's like an owl over in the corner next to our hi-fi system.
Yeah,
It's
good
pretty
stuff.
70s,
There's
pretty
good
70s.
stuff in there, man. So who else did you grow up with in that area? Like in your age bracket that was racing back then?
Oh, geez. So the story, we're racing, and like we had a camper that you put on your pickup truck.
Okay.
And like 75, we go down to Florida to race
Mini-O's?
Mini-O's. And back then it was TT, flat track, and motocross.
Okay.
Instead of supercross and whatever. And dude, Jeff Ward was on an XR75, and, you know, and he was like cheating. Like he would disappear in the woods during the enduro race and come out, and he had like a 2-minute lead, and he was only 2 minutes into the race. Like, it was the first time I ever seen him, but wow, I just thought this is kind of cool. So I know it's a little off topic. It's not off topic. So we're down there. We're going to go down. I don't know why. Dude, from Maryland to Florida is not easy. In a camper. 3 of us, a dog, my mom and dad.
Okay. Oh, shit.
In a camper.
All of you.
Dude, there's 5 of us in a camper that's in the back of a truck.
And you guys are probably riding in the camper on the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not.
No, up top and everything. But that was cool. Had intercom. We could talk to him. Hey, I got to pee or whatever. We had a bathroom. It was like, I'm hungry. So before the race, my dad had my mini in the back of the truck. And it flew out the back of the truck. Like days before we were leaving to go all the way down there. Smashed the pipe. Broke one of the shocks off. So he's like, God, what are we going to do? So he went down into the barn and found an old combed steel leg off of off of a table, cut it, welded it together, and made a pipe to go on my mini. It gets better. And then only one shock. Couldn't find another shock. So my dad was like MacGyver. Like, oh, the car doesn't work. Anyone got chewing gum and a couple toothpicks? Like, what are you going to do? Watch, you'll see. Like, he was just that guy, right? So he welded some stuff. I'm 5, right? Welded some stuff on and put the shock at an angle, and it was just one shock, but the bottom went down into the middle, so you're just racing with one shock. I didn't know any different.
You had a mono shock way before.
Oh, this is the part that I do remember. I remember asking my dad later on in life, I'm like, we were looking at pictures and stuff, and I'm like, we just had our Hot Wheels cars, and it was like white sand, wherever the track was. I don't know if it was Chicken Farm or who knows what it was. And we would make Hot Wheels tracks or Matchbox cars and stuff. And we had cigarette butts that we were using as like the hay bales around. But there was like 1 million cigarette butts. And I'm telling my dad this story as I'm older, whenever he's like, that's because of all the Japanese guys that were hanging out with us. I'm like, what? All of Yamaha was over hanging out, talking to my dad, looking at my bike because they had been working on a monoshock apparently forever. I think they came out with it in probably 78 or something. I don't know when it was. But this is 75, and they're like, how'd you do this? Blah, 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 blah. They, for 5 days. And there was just cigarette butts everywhere, and we used them as hay bales. Yeah, my dad invented the monoshock.
That's hilarious.
I got fifth that year.
Really?
Yeah.
So who were you racing with? Who were the other guys in your timeline with Skip?
My timeline. So Skip was like 3 years older than me. So as far as good, there was a guy, he's a couple years older than me, but Randy Jones. He was, remember they used to do the saddleback thing where everyone had to come out, no matter what bike you rode, you had to race a KX80. Like Budman and Swink did it.
The Race of Champions.
The Race of Champions. Well, they used to have one for a Taljet, which was, they made the cool 50, the Honda RX-50. The Taljet RX-50. So Randy Jones from Maryland gets chosen to go out, and he waxed everyone.
Really?
Like he won it.
Late 70s?
Yeah, I don't know. Early 70s, dude. 77, where it made the cover of Mini Cycle BMX Action.
Well, 77 is early 70s.
Okay, late 70s. You're so stupid. I hate you.
No, man, early 70s.
No, early 70s, like 77, maybe 79. No, but he was a G. He was the guy.
It's funny, you don't hear him. It's like you never hear this guy.
Yeah, and he was, I don't know what happened to him, and we just reconnected on Facebook in the last 5 years or whatever. But yeah, he smoked everyone, and it was all the fast guys. Half the guys there were like, oh, I know him. He raced for Suzuki later and all this stuff. And I think he got hurt a lot when he got up to 125s, but he won amateur national every year and that sort of. He was the baddest dude in my time.
Well, we talk about all the time these guys who didn't make it, the Lowell Thompsons, the Rick Simmons,
Yeah.
Remember those names?
God, are you kidding? Eddie Hicks. He was the fastest guy I ever saw in an 80. No one was faster than that guy,
but
ever.
Those guys came to the big amateur nationals and did well. There's good dudes in pockets of the country that no one ever, like this dude.
Yeah.
No one knows this guy probably.
Right.
But he obviously hauled ass.
Yeah, he was it.
Yeah.
And then in 77.
Early 70s.
Yeah, early 70s. My mom and dad are okay, we're going to open up a motorcycle shop because this is what we do as a family, right? So my dad and mom.
What did Pops do by trade prior to that?
Working on boats, selling boats and working on them, and that was it. So we opened
not
up.
too big of a jump though, right?
No, he was still tinkering on stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, like I said, he could work on everything.
So do you feel like that's a generational thing that we are losing and have lost probably significantly now. Like I look at my dad the same way. He literally
could do no wrong.
We can pull an engine out of a car. We did this. We bought a stolen van because the engine in our box van. As a kid, you just go along with it, right?
Right.
It's like me handing in beers while we're driving.
No, it's just a thing.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
Our box van motor was just tired. And so he bought this stolen van. I don't even know how he heard about it. And it sat parked in the back of our house in this empty lot for like 15, 20 years because we just pulled the motor and the seats out of it.
Right.
But he pulled the engines out,
swapped them, hooked them up, and you're going racing.
And we ran that box van for years. I sold it to Bud Man, and he ran it for, I mean, he could do anything.
Right.
Electronics, building it, whatever.
Yeah.
We don't have that. I can't do that.
No, I can't do it, but there's still a ton of people that do that.
You think as many? You think there's as many now as there was in that generation?
No, when we grew up, everyone was blue collar. Everyone was blue collar. It's different now. Like
my dad can't turn an iPhone on right now. So
right.
That's what happened.
No, you got kids that don't even go to college and they're millionaires by the time they're 19.
Yeah.
It's different.
I miss that era though, where men were like, you just had to learn how to do shit.
Remember, you can't mess with that kid. His dad's a badass.
Yeah.
Like no, my dad doesn't want to deal with his dad, so he's your friend. Yeah. Right? Those guys.
I miss that.
Yeah, but so we opened up, got a Kawasaki franchise, opened up Cycle 5 Kawasaki.
Okay.
And by like 82 or 3, #1 off-road Kawasaki shop east of the Mississippi. Like that's what we did. And moto. That's all we did. 36 weeks a year, gone on the weekends, drive out Friday night.
So were you doing Ponkas at Loretta?
Yeah, we did Ponkas. Well, we did
Loretta's
way before Loretta. Yeah, I mean, we did, but before Loretta's. Like, it was at Reedsville, North Carolina. It's the first time I ever saw Ron Lachine. Because they used to have youth nationals and amateur nationals. So
what's a youth national?
Nobody over the age of 16. 50s, 80s. I think they 100s.
Okay.
And then they had a schoolboy class.
Okay.
And I remember it was Reedsville, North Carolina, and I think I got like 9th that year in the 7 to 1180 class, and Ron Lachine was there. It poured. It was the worst mud race you've ever seen. You're like rerouting the track, putting banners up. No, they need to go over here now. Middle of the race kind of stuff. And this braced out El Cajon kid lapped everyone in the mud. Like everyone was like, no, he can't do it. He's from California. Murdered him. He was just that guy.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, 1981 or something.
Is he had a Yamaha?
Yeah, he was on Yamahas. But like waxed everyone in schoolboy class, 100 class and stuff. Yeah, so that ended up changing the whole course. So for us, it was like, hardly ever went to like high school football games or anything. We were gone every weekend. And then, I think, I was a Team Green kid. Skip was fast. Skip was like one of the local fast guys. He was way older than me. So like when he was a senior in high school, I was a freshman kind of thing. And I think I was like, I was pretty fast. I was Team Green guy.
Okay.
But, 9th at a national.
Yeah.
And I was ecstatic. That was like a win for me, right? And then like the ages 13 to 14, I went from like 5'4" to 6 foot tall. I couldn't ride an 80. I just couldn't ride an 80. So got to move up to 125. So I'm like, well, I can't start in the B class. Like in my mind, I'm like, no, I got to start in the expert class because I wanted to beat Skip. Didn't think it was gonna. And I'll never forget. I'm like 14, right? These guys literally, they look like full-grown adults to me. And I whole shot. Probably was in 15 by the end of the first lap. Just totally locked up. I'm like, oh my god. And then the next moto, I started like in the middle and worked my way up and got like 5th. And I'm like, I could see Skip. That was my whole motivation. And I'm like, I'm actually catching him. He was winning or whatever, but I was catching him. So mentally for me, I'm like, oh, I got him. He's handled. And he never beat me ever again. After that was it. I was like, nope. We would battle, but it was cool because I was battling with him. But what he hated was, like if I whole shot and left him, and he'd get 2nd or 3rd or whatever, I would break all the rules through the pits after. I would like, I wanted to get back to the truck and my jersey off, bike on the stand, everything, sitting there drinking a Gatorade, and he'd show up. I'm like, how'd you do, bro?
What's up, man?
Yeah, drinking a Gatorade. I just wanted to rub it in so bad. We fought. Like, he hated me so bad, and I hated him. We would literally brawl.
Really?
Dude, all the time. All the time.
I can see you two. You have a good relationship, but it's competitive. You can see it just in.
You ever play poker with us?
Yes. We're gonna get to the card games.
Yeah, so that became our life early on. Like it was moto forever. It was awesome.
And who were the guys you guys looked up to, like at the pro level at that time? I mean,
For me, it was Ward was my hero.
Yeah.
Like another good thing about working in the motorcycle industry is you end up becoming friends with guys and having beers with guys and like if you. I look like at some of these pictures I sent you. I'm like, dude, I used to have pictures of that guy, number 9 on his KX125, like wearing white Cinesalo gear and this Oakley with the nose piece and like a Jofa mouth guarders. He was just everything. He was, that's who I'm going to be. And like, high school senior photo, like, what are you going to be when you grow up? I'm like, factory motocrosser. You know what Skip said? Factory motocross mechanic.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Look at him just living his dream.
Because his 14-year-old little brother, he knew, shit, if I can't beat this kid, there's no way I'm turning pro, right? But no, like that, he knew, like he was working at the shop at Cycle 5, like in the service department and stuff. And then, I don't know if I'm going off track here, but so like Kawasaki had an East Coast thing down in Atlanta, and Jeff Chambers from Team Green was the guy. And since the shop was doing so well, it's like open house. I don't know if it's like every year we had one or whatever, but Jeff Chambers would drive up from Atlanta in the Team Green box van and everything, and he'd be there for the open house and all this stuff. And Jeff knows the whole story. I'm going to tell my version of it, but it was something like, I think his dad had like a lawnmower shop or something, and he decided he was going to go and move and go help his dad with his company. Needed someone to replace him in Atlanta, and he was talking to Skip like, you should do this. Skip's probably like, I mean, Skip's probably still in high school. So that's like 80. No, he was out because it was like 85. He moved in 86. And that's how Skip got into Team Green. Went down to Atlanta, lived with Todd Neal, which, I think Douglasville, Georgia or something. He lived with Todd Neal. Do you remember Sean Dukes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dukes with Todd Neal's were buddies, and
Gosh, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Duke Meyer. He was Batman at Six Flags.
Really?
For real.
That's what he got into
Afterwards, or still during. Still during, but like he was Batman on the motorcycle in Six Flags down there. But yeah, so that's how Skip got into Team Green.
So that's where he got his start, was he went into Team Green.
Yeah.
So did you keep racing for a while?
Yeah, I raced until...
Through high school, out of high school?
Oh, no, well, like when I was 18, I did this. Both bones through the skin, had surgeries where I didn't know if I was going to wake up with... I graduated from in a wheelchair in high school. And that's when I realized, no. So I went down to Florida, like, dude, the bone didn't heal. And it's not like now, dude, you see guys now, like basketball players, boom, they're laying on the ground with their legs sticking out of their skin. 2 days later, they're walking out of the hospital.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't have that technology back then.
They just got it kind of straight.
Plated it all up.
And
Dude, and then the bone wouldn't heal, so I had to have this electronic bone stimulator machine. It had to be plugged in 8 hours a day. So I just got an extension cord, plugged it in. I kept it on 24 hours a day. Get on my crutches and go make eggs for breakfast or whatever, and I was just stayed plugged in the whole day. And finally it healed. So I went that winter down to Florida. A couple of my buddies, John Mox, another guy who's a fast local guy, and we got in, and we had bought a box van at this point in time, like an old U-Haul. And me and 4 of my buddies were like, no, we're going to Florida. I'm going to race back into shape. Because racing season's, but I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And I raced, I went out for the first moto. Great start. And then, he's inside of me. I'm going to let him pass on this run. And then next, all of a sudden, I'm in like 7th. And I'm just like, now I'm going to stick my leg. He's going to kill me right now. I'm not going to fight anyone. And by the time I got off the track.
He's back into it. No, you go by 2. No,
right. You know what? I'll pass you on a right-hand turn. And that's when I realized that I pulled off the track, and I'm like, I'm not going to do this. Like, the difference between good to great is 1 degree.
Yeah.
And I went the wrong way because I was just nervous about my leg. I was still fast, and raced the second moto, and then we come back, we were going to be down there like 5 weeks. I'm like, hey, we're leaving. We're leaving. And they're like, dude, what? And then another fast kid, he was a little bit younger than me. 2-3 years younger than me, Billy Schlag. Right, Billy Schlag. So he was down there and he's like winning the 80 classes and stuff. And he had a big get off. and they had to go to the hospital. So I ended up, their mom, Sue, I think it was Sue Schlag, she had like the Mercedes station wagon that she drove down there. Well, I'm like, well, I'm going home, I'll just drive it back for you. So we just split the group up. We had a box van and this Mercedes, and I drove their car home to them, and like, dude, I was down there a weekend. And that was it. And I'm like, I'm gonna stay racing local because I could still do good locally, make some money, and I need to go to school. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to college, and then I got a job at Coca-Cola, and still racing like every weekend, local AMA District 7.
So what were you thinking at that time? Like, I'm not going to be.
What the hell am I going to do?
Okay.
But I was kind of artistic, so I'm like pencil sketching all this stuff, and I broke my wrist on a Z50. It's a whole nother story we should probably talk about. We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
And couldn't go to work for Coca-Cola for 6 months. They're like, no, you're not even allowed to come. We'll pay you money to stay home, I think, whatever it's called. But it's like 66% of my paycheck, no
Workers'
taxes.
comp.
It wasn't workers' comp because it didn't
What?
happen on the job. It was just, it was something else. And Skip's like, well, dude, if they're paying you to stay home, why don't you come on the road with me and help drive. So that's what I did for like 5 months. Met Skip at one of the races and just jumped in. And
Is that when you saw Bigfoot? You swear to me you saw Bigfoot.
I saw Bigfoot before that.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just south of Unadilla.
You sure it wasn't the Whoop Monster?
I promise you we were anywhere near
You guys were
Unadilla.
middle of the night driving a box van and you saw something.
No, we weren't even driving a box van. So my buddy Scott Williams and I, who's one of my best friends, we're driving up Friday night. Actually, all the guys were staying at my house. Like the last 5 weekends a year, all the pros would come and stay at our house because the mechanics got paid per diem.
Yeah.
And they're on the road. Dude, all the peak vans, RL, like I think was Dubox Mechanics, so he had his van. Swap, Pedersen, and his dad in their motorhome. Cliff Palmer. I mean, we just had electric cords going into the garage, and for 5 weeks because they got paid per diem, but they just stayed.
They're cashing that money.
Oh yeah, I just stayed at the house because it was like Broome, Tioga, Unadilla, Budds Creek, Steel City, and some other one. So they just.
Delmont.
Yeah, that's Steel City.
Oh, High Point. Maybe I'm saying. Did you say that?
No, that was earlier. Yeah. Early 70s. So
Southwick. That would be
it might have been the other one, yeah. So they were all like within 4 or 5 hours of my house in Maryland. So my buddy Scott, we were working or whatever, so it's like Friday night, let's drive up. So we drive up and got like a Depeche Mode CD or something going in the car. It's like 11 o'clock at night. Cruise control set, and there's I think it's just north of Oneonta, which is like a little college town or whatever, and then there was like, it used to be an old railroad, but they built dirt up over it, so it's kind of up, and it's just farm. And then you go up the hill there to get it, so as far as you can see. There's like fog and stuff. Cruise control set at 70, just...
This wasn't a movie you watched? It
No,
sounds like a
dude, I'm
movie.
telling you, this is, I've told this story a bunch. I can cuss, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good. So, we're driving, and I think I see something, because, I'm worried about hitting deer, because I've hit deers before. So I'm like, this, and my buddy Scott sort of laid back, he might be asleep. We're driving, and I thought I saw like a rabbit or something, like there's just 2 guardrails, goes down 20 feet, and it's just farm, you're like, just elevated. I'm like, fuck. If I hit him, he's fine. Like, I'm not going to swerve or anything, fog's kind of rolling around 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. Well, then the rabbit jumps right when it's not supposed to. Just if you've hit a deer, you know what I'm talking about. They jump right at the last second. So I saw it and I was like, whoa, shit. And it wasn't a rabbit. It was the foot of this thing, and it just kind of goes, dives over the guardrail. I go right by it. You ever been in your house, like by yourself, and you're watching TV or something, and you swear you see a shadow go by the window, you're like, oh, it's nothing, kind of thing? That's what I did, and I'm like, that's fucking weird. Buddy Scott leans his seat forward, grabs the inside of my thigh, and goes, what the fuck was that? I'm like, what did you see, dude? What did you see? Because I wasn't going to say, I saw fucking Sasquatch. I was like, oh my God, dude. We were 100 miles an hour, like it was going to chase us.
You guys both saw it, though.
We get up there, we get to the hotel at like 2 in the morning, and we're like, where Skip and everybody was. And we're like, still, dude, 180 heart rate. And we're like sitting in the lounge, or the room, like, dude, we're not sleeping. We're up here, and we're not going to sleep. Like, oh my God, and we saw Bigfoot. So at like 5, because at the Nationals, guys had to get up early to go get in line. So it's like 5, they start coming down. We're like, oh my God, you guys aren't going to believe this. They were like, what were you guys smoking? Like, no, dude, no. We were on Diet Coke. We were driving up to the races at night. Like, yeah, that's 90, probably 2.
And nobody believes you.
Of course not.
You probably think it was some bomb.
Right. Or I was just tired or
But
sleepy.
you're 100% convinced what you said.
I had, and what's funny is by the middle of the next day, there were 4 black bruises. Like, I didn't even want to tell him what was, but yeah, no.
All right, I totally derailed you on that story.
It's okay.
Where were we at? You were talking about Skip. Skip was working for Team.
Yeah, he went to Team Green. Oh, I went down and was racing. Was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. That's when I knew.
You were gonna get into
Yeah. Well, I was painting. Like, so I was painting when I was like 14.
Yeah. Everybody knows Shawn as SND, which is Shawn Norfolk Designs.
Right. That's my nickname.
Everybody
Everyone
calls you
me
SND,
that.
and even sometimes I go, why do I call him SND? Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was always. I started off with like just contact paper and electric tape. Like I'd make a new helmet design every week kind of thing.
Yeah. And
And then like some friends were like, dude, can you do one for me? Like, yeah. And then it turned in, I'm gonna teach myself how to airbrush. And, I mean, it's probably like 83 or something. I mean, I was 13, I was like an 8th grader. So I'm starting to airbrush helmets and blah, blah, blah. So I started painting helmets locally. And,
did you look at like what Troy was doing? Was that kind of?
well, Troy was, I know he was doing it then, but I think it was like, when I first remember Troy's when he came out with his visor.
Yeah.
It was the sickest visor in the world.
Well, he started
'Cause it came up-
so it would have been not too long after.
Yeah, I mean, I probably saw it in magazines and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a get online or watch Moto World, at the time. But yeah, it was probably Troy because I was like, everyone was using Troy Lee helmets then. So I got an account with Troy Lee and started buying visors so I could paint them because I wanted my helmets to look cool. And you couldn't just paint a stock visor and have it look, especially those old Moto 4 visors with the, anyhow. So I started painting helmets and stuff, and then Budds Creek gets a national. I don't know what year it is. So I go to like where the autograph signing is going to be. Got my helmets there and my business cards. And Mike Koger? Remember Mike Koger? So he was there working at MXA. He was like, oh, I want to take some pictures of your helmets and stuff. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't take a picture, and it shows up in MXA magazine like towards the back. And they did a whole helmet painters section, and it was like Kohler's colors and Troy Lee. There was like 5 or 7 or something, and I was one of them. It was a helmet I painted for Billy Schlag that I just had there. And, dude, my phone started ringing off the hook. So now I'm like, God, I'm just like painting helmets in the garage. I'm like, shit, I'm behind. You know what I mean? It was like all of a sudden, what are you gonna do? And it took off. It was never like my full-time job, but it was cool. And then through racing and everything, I started. Swink left Pro Circuit, left the peak team, 91, 92. And he was like, dude, just paint my helmets. So I painted Swink's helmets. And I was painting Ezra Lusk's helmets. He was a kid on 80s at the time. And then so Swink wins Supercross championship at 92. And then the next year, Yogi wins it. So I'm like, dude, I got Supercross champs racing my stuff. It was, they were like the 2 best guys. But like, remember like Dave Beckington, Jeff Beckington, and those guys from Michigan? They were probably kicking your ass back then. You didn't want to know. But like just most East Coast guys. I mean, a lot of guys who would, I was getting helmets all the time, and it was.
Were you making good money?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
I was. It was all cash, and I was silk screening T-shirts and stuff. My MacGyver dad took an old KZ900 street bike, Kawasaki street bike, front hub. It was crashed. Turned it on its side, welded some things in. I had a 4-color machine, and the hub, dude, I'm telling you, he welded all the stuff, and I put the frames in there and silk screen and turn, and silk screen and turn, and it was a KZ900 hub and a bunch of steel, and I was silk screening and painting helmets and stuff, yeah.
So, what did you, from that, you were actually making some money, you're doing something cool you liked, like what?
That's where we were going earlier, like where were we? So, I go on the road with Skip for like 4 or 5 months helping him drive box vans, and I was helping Slicer and White and all those.
This was pre-peak? This was Team Green Days?
No, this is now we're talking, I think he was either, I don't know if he was Honda yet or still peak.
Okay.
So 92, because I moved to California in 93. It was, it was Supercross season 93, Jeremy's first year on 450s. So go up to, I think it was like in the Supercross and national schedules were intermingled. So it was like, I don't know if I was at High Point or something, got in a box van, and we had to drive all the way to San Jose. And Jeremy had press day, so he had a muddy 125.
Hangtown was the only one, right?
No, it was San Jose Supercross. So it went from an outdoor national to Supercross.
I thought when Hangtown was the start of the Nationals, and it was in the middle of the Supercross.
Hangtown.
Then you finished Supercross.
No, we went. It was from
you
High
did right,
Point. It was a mud race, and we had to go to San
Do
Jose.
you know why? It was the LA riots.
So they moved the track up. They moved it up to San Jose that year.
They had to push the
It was the
Supercross.
LA riots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had and he had to be press day Thursday morning, 5 in the morning for the morning news on Thursday, and then we're in Pennsylvania on Sunday night. Total mud race. Muddy 125s and this CR250 because he rode 125 Nationals, and this CR250 that was for racing. So we're hauling ass. It's like all the Suzuki guys, all the Honda guys, Slicer, Wyatt, Marshall Plum, I might even been Don Stevenson.
Longacre, yeah.
Yeah, all those guys. And we're just like
Jim Danforth.
we're just going across the country. Well, all of a sudden we get to Reno, and we're like, it's early. We should probably gamble. I mean, just staying up, all that stuff. So I meet Bob Rathkamp at that San Jose Supercross. And it was, Jeremy's first year on Sinisalo. And I meet Bob, and we just start talking. We had lunch. We're sitting up in the stands talking. He's like, well, what do you do? And I'm telling him what I do. And I'm like, dude, I got some pencil drawings of some gear. You need to see this shit, kind of thing. So I literally had pencil drawings. And if I wasn't driving, just drawing stuff, he's like, oh, yeah, you should move to California and work for me, kind of thing. So my first day, I'm driving around with all these guys for months. My first day back at work at Coca-Cola, I'm like, yeah, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice. I'm moving to California. And I moved to California.
And so you didn't care about even keeping the SND thing going? You were
No, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm done. I'm going to go
I
take
got
a
a job with the big
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Making $24 grand a year. For real. I was making $50 grand at Coke. And I didn't know you had to buy a fridge when you moved to California either.
So you were an idiot.
Stupid.
Okay.
Stupid.
Now that we agreed on that,
Yeah.
let's move forward. All right, so you move out, you're working for Rathkamp at Sinisalo.
Yeah.
And what was your job like? You were the
Sales.
Oh, okay, sales.
Sales.
So you weren't taking care of the riders at the races, or?
We had Jeremy and Greg Schnell. And Schnell was amateur still.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that was it. That's all we had.
But that wasn't a big job.
No, it wasn't.
But you were the perfect guy to do it, or at least help Jeremy. I mean, your brother's working for him.
Well,
I'm sure you knew him already.
Yeah, after the earthquake, I lived with him, and Lou and I stayed at Lou's house last night. We were talking about that, after the earthquake, it couldn't get out.
That was 94, right?
Yeah, first, it was Orlando Supercross was always the first Supercross. Get home from Orlando Supercross, 3 hours later, Sunday morning, it's gone. Chaos. Right? I woke up.
Oh, I remember you got thrown out of your bed.
Dude, I thought I was dead.
Right?
I was on the other side. I was in Valencia, but so my apartment complex was on the mountain, and then if you go over the mountain, Northridge is on the backside.
Yeah.
So dude, I thought we got bombed. I'd never been in an earthquake, none of that. I mean, and it was gnarly.
To this day, I keep some flip-flops under my bed because you told me that.
I told you, dude. I'm telling you, because I had cuts all over my broken glass everywhere.
When you have an earthquake, and if you're near the epicenter, I mean, it gets wild. He'll tell you, but a lot of glass will break, and then if you've got to get out of your house, you cut your feet all up.
Yeah.
So he always said, always keep just something under your bed you can walk with. That's a dumb little thing I've kept on all these years. But it's funny because anyone that was out here in California at that time knows exactly where they were when that earthquake happened. I remember I was living with Randy and Phil in Menifee. Right. Quite a ways away.
And you guys felt the rolls way down here.
Oh, dude, it was the first earthquake I'd ever been in. So I'm in bed, and just rocking and rolling. I'm going, whoa, just, it feels like you're in a dream. It's so weird.
The earth is moving. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And I get up, I run out of my room, and Randy's room's to my left, Phil's down the hall on the right, and I kind of run to Randy's room.
What do I do?
Phil's already there. He's in the corner like this, dude, arms against the thing, and he's looking at Randy are we okay? What do we
go outside?
Yeah, Randy was like dad to all of us. Anyway.
No, that was gnarly.
You got, literally tossed out of your bed.
Yeah, and when I woke up, I was under my dresser. And you're dead asleep. And the way I explained to my mom and dad like a week later when I was able to finally talk to them, because there was only like 9 cell towers in the whole world at that point in time, and they were just overloaded. I said, you remember those old steel toolboxes? Little 12-inch, it was like they were full of 10 millimeters, 8 millimeter sockets, like 50 of them, and someone decided to go running with you. The noise was so loud, it sounded like, that's why I thought we got bombed. You could hear it kind of coming, it sounded like a train or something, and then boom, it hits, and I just remember, like, I thought we got bombed, so I was just like in the fetal position, and then I was knocked out, and I woke up with.
Oh, you got knocked out?
Yeah, so it was my mom's dresser when she was a kid, like these old oak dressers.
Heavy timber.
Yeah. Yeah. It was on, and it had a mirror bolted onto the back of it. I mean, the thing weighed 5 tons. It was huge. It was on top of my bed and on top of me, with clothes in it.
Jeez.
So I don't know how much pressure.
Physics of that. How that
makes no sense. Yeah. So yeah, I woke up and ran to the door. My door was gone. Door was gone. Every car alarm's going on. There's dust everywhere.
Pandemonium.
And I look down and I see my truck. But there's no cars next to my truck. So maybe it was the truck suspension that kept it. All the cars had flopped up and went down the hill. And they were just all these car alarms going off. I'm like, oh my God. And then like an aftershock hit. Now, I didn't know there were aftershocks. I didn't know what an aftershock was. It was that's when I realized it was an earthquake, because it started shaking. So I just hauled ass. And I get to the steps.
You were about to live by yourself?
Yeah. I'm on the second
Which is terrifying.
floor. Oh, dude. And like, steel with like clay steps going down it. They were all shattered.
Oh, yeah.
I went full Wile E. Coyote. Opened the door and went to hit it. I was like, boom! Just dropped 12 feet or however high I am. Landed in broken bricks and shit. I'm in boxer shorts. It's 35 degrees outside. It's January in the morning. And I run outside. And there's no one outside. And I was like, everyone's dead. Oh my God, I'm the only person that's alive. I mean, it was total chaos.
Wow.
And then there was a parking structure underneath the building, and I looked through it, and I saw people. So I just took off running. Some of those buildings collapsed. Like there was like 11 buildings or whatever, and mine didn't, but there was like a doctor who lived there like trying to save this guy, and then there's the light poles are going like this because we had aftershocks that were like 6.0s and 5.5s. Ruined. Anyhow, how we got onto that was Ann McGrath. She got a hold of me somehow, and she's like, "You need to come to our house." I'm like, "I can't get there because the bridge, that New Hall Pass, was down. Like I can't get there." She's like, "Go buy a Thomas guide." So I went and bought which is a map. I went and bought a map, and I
kids. So what that is a map that actually has all the streets, like what would be on your phone today.
But it was in a piece of paper that you had to fold out like this. Steering wheels here, 8-track player. Yeah. So, and I went up through Palmdale, all the way over to like Victorville.
Yeah.
And then drove all the way down, and I got there. So I lived with Jack and Ann for like a week and a half, and then Jeremy's like, "Dude, you need to come with me." So I moved in with Jeremy and Lou for like.
Canyon Lake at that point? Or
No, still in Murrieta,
yeah.
like right across from Skip's in the little single-story house.
Yep.
So lived there for a while until all the aftershocks were done. Meanwhile, Rathkin's like going, "Where'd Sean go?" Actually, Bob and Jen, I stayed like 2 or 3 nights at Bob and Jen's house. They came and picked me up because they knew I was going to be shitting myself, right? So I stayed with Bob and Jen Rathkin for like 3 days. The first night, we slept in their minivan, parked outside. Like, we slept, that's how bad it was, because the aftershocks were so big that, dude, when's the house gonna fall, right?
Yeah.
So once they dissipated a little bit. Anyhow, so that's how I ended up down there. And then I called Bob, and he's like, "Well, the Kawasaki show's like, Thursday, if you want to go," which was in Irvine. Kawasaki used to do their Kawasaki dealer shows.
Yeah.
And Sinisalo was like, made Kawasaki gear. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And Derek Natbig came down for like a party at Jeremy's house. So I'm like, "Hey dude, how do I get to Kawasaki?" Because Dave lived over there. He's like, "Oh, I'll show you how to get there." And we got the map out. He's like, "Over here." And I'm like, "All right, I got this." And then I was back in Valencia, found another apartment and everything. And I remember Bob going, "Dude, I didn't think you were coming back." Like, I was working for him, and I saw him at the Anaheim Supercross. "Hey Bob!" Like it was like remember me? I work for you kind of thing. He's like, no, no, but it was like, because I just thought you were gone. So when I came back, I'm like, I can still work, right? He's like, yeah. So I just started working.
How was that, a couple week window there? Or?
Oh, dude, it was probably 5-6 weeks. Because like if the news.
You never talked to him? You never like call him, hey man?
Like, yeah, maybe once or twice, probably. I don't know. I was busy partying.
Yeah.
It was fun, but it was like, yeah, and they were tolerant as shit, but Bob and Jen are good.
What good stories do you have from working for them? I mean, did Jeremy just rode for him in 93?
93 and 94. And then Fox, 95.
That's right. That was a big deal for Cinesalo. And it's funny,
it was.
When I think Cinesalo, I go right to Morty in that white
Of
gear.
course.
But they were big through that window, and then like...
Dude, then RJ rode Cinesalo when he was like number 17 on the Yamaha.
Right.
Brooks rode with it. I mean, Heike Mikla was the badass guy. But, yeah, and then Bob and Jen had Cinesalo. What happened was the ability to make product in China. Like, the only problem, and Cinesalo was known as having the best gear, right? The best made stuff.
It was made in...
The only problem was there was a building in Finland that said Cinesalo on it. Like, they owned the factory.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Fox comes out with the gear and the pants aren't $169 anymore, they're $129. Like, well, we can't do that.
Killed them.
Yeah. I mean, there's more to that story, obviously, and Bob knows it all, I don't know.
But that's the underlying.
But essentially, that killed it. That was...
That happened to a lot of companies on that, huh?
Axo, same thing. Axo had a building in Italy with its name on it.
Yeah, I think their designers kind of went off the rails.
It wasn't the designer anymore, he was gone. He designed the 1994 Cinesalo gear, which was Kenny Safford. So he was the guy who designed all the badass Axo stuff, and then he left, and then he ended up going back later in life. He started Rocky Parts, started doing mountain bike stuff, but he went back later. So
there was nothing cooler than Axo for that window of Bradshaw, Stanton.
Yeah, up until '94.
Yeah.
And then he went over to Cinesalo and was starting his own company, that Rocky Parts company. So.
Yeah, it's weird to watch those clothing companies come and go, like have their moment of,
right.
They rise to where they're like, I mean, shit, Jeremy was the
guy.
Coolest guy in the world for
Right.
those couple of years. You had the dude.
Yep.
And then gone.
Well, and I guess it's coolest story about working at Cinesalo was I met Mark. Oh, yeah, that's the coolest story.
Well, you married into a pretty moto family, so
yeah.
Take us through that, because I don't know if people know the connection between your wife and her family and how connected they are.
So I married Susie Gonzalez, whose brother is Jose Gonzalez, who worked at Team Green.
He's the Team Green guy. Like
yeah.
If you were wanting a Team Green ride, Jose was the guy.
Yeah, he was the one who could
make all your wildest things come true.
Yeah, and Mercedes, like 9 times women's motorcycle champion. So the story's funny because 1-800-COLLECT came on as a sponsor in '94, I guess. It was '93. No, it was '94. It was '94, maybe '93. And they sent all the iron-ons over to Axo because Stanton was wearing like Axo TX10 Honda gear. So I had to drive over to Axo, it was like 2 blocks away, and just go pick up some 1-800-COLLECT iron-ons so we could put them on Jeremy's jersey. So I go over there and walk in, and this receptionist girl's like, oh, can I help you? I'm like, yeah, I'm here to see John Caber, need to get some iron-ons or whatever. Caber comes down, blah, blah, blah. As soon as I get back into Cinesalo, Jen's there, Jen Rathkamp, and she's like, okay, who'd you see? Because Bob and Jen used to work at Axo too.
Okay.
I'm like, I don't know, but I just saw one of my dreams. Like literally first words I ever said about Susie, and she's like, well, who is it? So I'm like describing her, and they're like, oh, that's Mercedes' sister. I'm like, no, it's not. I've known Mercedes since I was 10. I'm 24 years old. That's not Mercedes' sister. I knew Jose. I knew their mom. Her mom had sweet tea at our motorhome in Loretta Lynn's and stuff. Like, no, it's not her. Like, she doesn't. I know her sister. It's Maria, the older one. Like, no, they have another one. Like, no, what are you smoking, Jen? There's no other sister. Then the earthquake happens, and like 2 days later, we're at Cinesalo, like trying to clean stuff up, and then we see people come walking across the parking lot because you checked on everyone. Like motocross action was right down the street.
You guys were all right there in the
Yeah, we're all in the same little area. And they come walking through, and Jen goes, look, it's Mercedes and her sister Susie. And I was like, oh shit, that's really her sister? So that was like the first, and they came over, man, how are you guys doing? Is everything okay? Blah, blah, blah. So
Nicest family in the world.
Oh, yeah, awesome. So, yeah, it was like, so the earthquake was January 94. So that was it. I just met her, and that was it. Turned the clock forward a year, and there was a race out at 395. And if you remember, Johnny O'Mara was talking about going to just ride short term for Honda of Troy, like he was going to make a comeback. Way
I
later.
remember that, yeah.
So Mitch had this Honda of Troy CR250. It was my 25th birthday, so it was March 3rd of 95.
Okay.
And we're out at 395. It was a,
Transcal? Or
No.
March would have been
no,
Golden State.
Golden State. It was a Golden State race, so everyone was there.
Okay.
And at the time, it was like Brandy's and, you know what I mean? Those,
Casey Johnson.
yeah, all those guys were there.
Yeah.
So we go up there, and I go up there with Buddy, and it's like, dude, I had a factory ride. Buddy was up there with,
Buddy Morgan was a pro circuit.
right, with O'Mara's bike that he was going to race for Honda of Troy, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I raced like the plus 25 class. And I hadn't raced since like 1992. Like, it's my first race in California. But like, we had a blast. I don't know, I got fourth or fifth or something, but 3 laps in, I was arm pumped and everything else. But I go up to like the snack shack, and it's Susie at the snack shack. Her and Sandra Peters were like really good friends. I didn't know Sandra Peters at this time either, obviously. So, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be pretty hungry and thirsty today. So I had like 10 Egg McMotos, and like, I was, oh my God, could I get some? I need more Gatorade. I just wanted to go. She was just beautiful. So,
Can I get a Snickers? It's for my friend. I don't put this on.
no, Body's a machine. We've been married 24 years. She knows it's not a machine. So anyhow, I'm like just walking, and Sandra was tall. Like, she was as tall as me, and I'd never met her in my life. I'm just walking, and this girl goes, hey, stands right in front of me, goes, do you have a girlfriend? And I was like, well, the wrong answer hurt me. That's what I said. She goes, yes. And I said, no, I don't. So she's like, well, the girl in the snack shack thinks you're cute. And I was like, well, tell the girl at the snack shack my name is this. Because I knew she would remember me, because when she came over from during the earthquake, we're like, oh my God, and me and Mercedes talking about this, and oh, Skip used to go skiing with us at Mammoth, so we had this little thing. So like, I walk over to like the window, and I'm looking in when she tells her, and Susie's like, oh my God, tell him he can't come over. I'm like, too late. And that's how we met again. And I blew her off. I cool guy. It was horrible. It was the dumbest thing I ever did in my life. She's like, well, hey, we're going to go out, and we're going to go to like some country bar. We're going to go line dancing. I'm like, no, I'm with my buddies. It's my birthday. We're going to go drinking. So that's what I did.
She's like, cool.
Right.
Well,
So then I go like this. I write my phone number. The next day, it was a 2-day race, Saturday, Sunday. I write my phone number on a piece of paper, and Sandra told me her card, and I like put it under her windshield wiper so she'd see it. I'm like, oh, it's cool. She'll call me. Like 5 days later, I'm like, God, I can't connect. Like, I don't have her phone number. Like, I tried to cool guy her, and she just smoked me. Like, didn't call me at all. She finally calls me like 2 months later.
oh,
Like,
yeah?
hey, you want to go out? I had just gotten back from a 3-day fishing trip. It's like 5 o'clock. I'm asleep on the couch. It's Sunday. I'm like, well, yeah, sure. And we went out to like 3rd Street and Promenade down Santa Monica, and hanging out there. I fall asleep on the way home. She drives me back to my apartment. It was the worst first date. Like, that poor woman. It was horrible.
You really were not like knocking it out of the park, really.
No. She just had super high tolerance. So she did nails and stuff. And she was telling me where, like, in the salon, like, her thing's right in the middle, and all these hairdressers are around her. And she was telling me, like, all the hairdressers are gay. The guys are gay, the girls are gay. And so I'm like, what can I do? I wake up the next morning, and I'd go into work at 7, but I knew she didn't start then. So I called her on her work phone and left a voicemail. I'm like, hi, my name is Serge, and I heard you did like amazing nails. And just left this full 2-minute, and then at the end I was like, I'm so sorry, look, it's Shawn. I just wanted to put a smile on your face and blah, 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 blah. Sorry about last night. And that was it. And she called me later that day, and she's like, yeah, I was done with you. But I played it, and everyone heard it, and they're like, if you don't give that guy another chance, you suck as a person. That guy, that's funny as shit, and blah, blah. So it was her friends that ended up getting her to call me again, and we got married. And
That's awesome.
there we go.
And Derek Natvig married Mercedes.
Mercedes,
So
yeah.
there's like this huge moto
Oh, yeah.
family type.
Yeah.
Pretty.
Which is cool because I'm on the other side of the country, so I now have, this is my family over here.
Yeah.
So it made California home. It was good.
That's awesome. So, how did you leave Sinisalo? Like, what happened where that went apart?
So I went to
And
work.
before we leave
Yeah.
that, what was the coolest part? Like, you have a memory from those couple of years that was good, not the earthquake stuff.
Yeah, it's
Championship parties with Jeremy and those.
well, yeah, those were always fun. But it's a sales story. That's
Okay.
actually the funnest part. So you know Danny Doby.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we go to, again, it's probably 94, Seattle Supercross. And there's a shop called
I was riding for Danny Doby then.
JT. Yeah, so he's a JT guy and I was in a solo guy. So there's a shop called Gary Strode at Motorcycle. It's weird how your memory comes back, dude. This is 94. Gary Strode Motorcycle Supply. And I sold him a little bit of stuff. Doby sold him a little bit of stuff. So we're going to go. He had an autograph signing or something. So we go there and I meet and Strode introduces us. And it was like, well, dude, let's just go hit all these shops together. Because Axo owned the Pacific Northwest. Like, let's go kick those fuckers out. Let's go. All right, flip a coin, who's going first? And we freaked the shops out because the JT rep and the Sinisalo rep were coming in at the same time. And we're like, no, who would go first? And then we would do things like, let's show up first thing in the morning and bring coffee and donuts because, everybody moves the bikes back into the shop and they have to push them out in the morning. We'll help them push them out. What, are they going to not buy something from us? Like, we were thinking like that. We'd show up at the end of the day, help push the bikes back in, 2 large pizzas and 12-pack of Coors Lights, and we absolutely, so Danny and I, and these guys would freak out, like, wait, you guys are in here together? Like, yeah, well, he's going first because he sold more than the last one, so, but save some money for me, I got you, dog. I got Jeremy McGrath, he has Tim Ferry, come on, that kind of stuff, right? So Dobie and I are still really good friends, like, that was probably, that started a friendship, like, I'll give you an example, I'm working in Houston in January this year, and out of nowhere, Dobie's like, hey, you going to the race? I'm like, when's the race? He's like, this weekend. I'm like, in Houston? Because I forgot that it's weekend. And I'm in Houston. I'm like, well, yeah, I'll just change it. I'll just not get out on Friday and I'll just stay the weekend. So we hung out and shared a hotel room and, drank 400 Coors Lights and told stories and stayed up late and golfed on Sunday and we had a blast.
You two may be the best two salesmen, just personality-wise, that I've ever met. Like you said, if you sit down with you or him for 30 minutes and just BS,
It's fun.
how do you not buy something? You're going to buy something. Even if you're like, I don't have any money, I'll give me 5 of those. You're buying something.
Yeah, we had fun. And dude, he and I have a ton of stories. Like,
Yeah.
One Industries is my name. And he ended up working at One Industries.
Oh, you came
Oh,
up
dude,
with-
we came up with that, me and him and MacGyver. Remember MacGyver?
Yeah.
At like 4 in the morning at the Indy Trade Show.
He does a graphics company.
Yeah, I think so. It's down in Florida or something. Yeah, like wearing open face helmets, drinking beer in the hotel room, coming. Oh yeah, we don't need to work for people. Let's start our own company. It was One Industries. We came, and then MacGyver goes to this guy and starts making pit boards. And next thing you know, in Racer X, when it was still newspaper, there's like, oh, buy One Industries pit boards. I'm like, the fuck? And Dobie's like, dude. MacGyver's like, yeah, I made some pit boards with the name, dude. We're gonna sell pit boards for $20. I'm like, what? I swear that really happened. And then One Industries became One Industries later. That had
Didn't
nothing to do with
Bernard and Ludo, wasn't that their?
back, yeah, but that was years later. And Dobie was involved with that. Yeah. No, it's just, there's some funny, weird stories like that.
I'm sure. Okay, so what about next? What came next? At least in a solid.
Goat Eyewear. So
That's right.
Randy told Goat, Goat Brecker, who I saw Saturday.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Goat came down?
Yeah. He came down. First person I saw when I walked in.
How was he? I've heard he's like kind of gone super.
Yeah, he lives out in Randsburg.
Yeah.
Right? And I saw him. I walk up and, got sunglasses on or whatever. I'm like, Goat. He looks up. He's like, hey. And he stands up and I take my sunglasses off. He's like, Nafik. Because he used to call me Nafik for whatever reason. Goat's one of the funniest, weirdest dudes in the world.
Funny, weirdest
Dude,
exactly.
so funny.
Hey,
It's so weird.
I've been trying to get him on the show. I'll call, and his voicemail is just a goat bleating. He goes, yeah, and then that's it.
Yeah, he looks
And
good.
that's exactly what he'd
Because he was dude, he was like the most fit older
Yeah.
dude you've ever seen. He was boxing and shit. Like, and he was 50 or whatever.
He still looks good.
He looks good, thinner, because he doesn't have all the muscle that he has. Thinner, good, healthy. Like, yeah, it was cool. Introduced me to some of the people he was with. Yeah, so I went to work for Goat. He had GFI sunglasses, like in.
Well, so he ran GFI.
The traffic.
Goat for it was
Yeah.
the name of the company in Paris. But then he ran a whole series that started competing with Golden State.
Golden State's, right?
There was GFI North and South. Those were big series. For
Yeah,
him.
that's what he did for the longest time.
Early 90s.
Yeah,
Actual early
early
90s.
90s.
All the way through the 90s, I would say, right? Like,
Yeah.
And he transitioned that into GFI eyewear.
Eyewear, which you could buy at like gas stations and stuff.
Yeah.
And then, so I went there and was like, dude, your name's cool kind of thing. We should do these other sunglasses. So I'm doing GFI. Plus I had all these motorcycle connections from work and, selling Cinesolo and stuff. So I got motorcycle dealers to buy the products and blah, blah, blah. And then he started Goat Eyewear, which was like high-end. Because the GFIs were like $20 sunglasses or whatever. So then he had the Goat Eyewear.
The profit margin on those was insane.
Yeah, it was
Right?
dumb. Plus, we were literally, other than the frames, they would show up and we were like, it had like the gold Goat logo on the side that we had to put in and screw tight, and then the GFI logo on the lens. We had pad printers, so we're just like printing them in the back, and like it was a thing, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
And that's what moved me down to Menifee, and I bought the house in Menifee in '95.
Okay. Yeah, we're trying to work out the timeline. So you bought it in this Menifee neighborhood around Menifee Lakes.
Yep, and dude, by the way, it was the only neighborhood in Menifee, off Newport. I drove by it the other day. I didn't even know where I was. Like, it's all out past Scott Road and everything. There's 5,000 houses.
It's basically, in another 2 or 3 years, it'll be just go all the way down. It'll be all out.
Yeah, it's crazy. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, so I bought right on the golf course there.
So you were the first one to buy. Did Chad
Well,
Pedersen buy?
Phil and Randy already lived there.
Yeah.
They already lived there. Yeah, I was the
There
first
was
one
a
to
bunch
bought
of people
there.
there. So, yeah, Phil and Randy lived there. I was living with them.
Right.
Chad Watts bought in there.
Chad Watts bought, but over on the other side by Phil and those guys.
Yep.
Then
Lonnie bought.
Lonnie bought.
Lonnie was Jeff Emming's longtime girlfriend, Carrie's situation on a nail salon, if you guys remember that.
And then swap. Chad Pedersen bought over like 5 doors up from me,
Yeah.
right? And then like a year later, maybe not a year later,
I
you
think it
bought
was
the house right next to me.
Yeah, maybe the end of 97 or early 98, because I was living with Watts in 97, I know
It
that.
had to be 97.
Okay.
It was late 97 you bought it. And you bought the big one.
Well, I just, big, what was it, 1,700?
Maybe. But it had a second story. No one else had a second story. You had like a half second story.
The only reason I bought it was because you and Chad lived on that street. I'm like, I don't want to just go buy a house where I don't know anybody.
Right.
This
Yeah, you
sounds
bought,
cool.
it was literally right next to me. The one next.
97 grand. Okay, for that
Yeah,
house.
I paid 103. You got a better deal.
That's nuts. I doubled my money in the 4 years.
Yeah,
I lived
the
there.
thing's worth $500,000 now. Anyhow.
So the fun thing about that I remember from this house, and there obviously was some overlap when we lived there. Yeah, because 98 is when that girl was living with me. My girlfriend at the time.
Right. That girl. Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
didn't.
trying not to say.
I was still there.
Yeah.
I was still there
Right.
for that.
Because I remember having a conversation with you like, hey, I don't really want this girl with me.
I'm like, you're fucked, dude. Sorry. You should cheat on her. That's probably the advice I gave. She'll leave, I promise.
I took it. It didn't work. Oh, this is terrible. All right, but that house
Oh, Lord.
housed some of the wildest poker parties because at the time, you
Dude.
probably heard in our show, this has come up multiple times.
Poker.
Poker. In fact, J-Mo, who was just on, talked about we played games called Guts,
357.
357, and then eventually it turned into your house was just kind of straight poker, right?
Well, it
Five-card
was
draw.
357 is how every poker game ended.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It was the dumbest thing ever. Mind you, I'm the brokest person there. Right? It's like Jeremy, Phil Lawrence, Sean Palmer, who had more money than Jeremy and Phil and everybody all combined, and then like Skip and, jeez, Little Snelly.
Yeah,
Schnell's little brother.
Eric
Eric Snell, Little Snelly. And dude, we had like 15 people, and it was like, nope, it's got 7. So it was like, who's coming? Button would come, but dude, at the end of the night, it was like, okay, 357 got out of hand.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making like 40 grand, and
That's your annual salary.
That's my annual salary. And there's $8,000 in the pot. I'm like, I'm in. The only reason I was in is because Palmer was the only one in. Sean Palmer's the worst fucking poker player in the world. His whole theory was, I've got more money than everyone. I'm going to scare him out of it. Well, the deal was if it's like $500 in the pot, Palmer would go in. Everyone else went in because we knew he was lying. Like, he didn't even have a poker face. So the deal was with that game is if you lost, you owed the pot. So one person, like if Palm went in, one person wins the $500 pot. So if you win, boom. Everyone that stayed in had to put $500 in the pot. So all of a sudden it's $3,500 like that.
Yeah, the pot would just
And
skyrocket.
you get 3 cards and 3s are wild. And there's no straight. So you're like, Palm would go in and like 2, 4, 7, $3,500, I'm in. And it was like, check, 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 check. Dude, there was $30,000. I'm making $40,000, right? But if it was Palm, you knew you were going to win. It was, the odds were way in your favor, and he would lose. But it would end up, okay, we're all done, and you had IOUs, because no one had money.
And your brother had a book. This is how out of control it got. Because there was card games on every flight to every race, especially the international stuff with long flights. Yeah. Games on the road. So nationals were on Sunday at that time. You know, Friday press day. Saturdays was just off.
We'd sit in the hotel room and or not the hotel room, we would get whatever, like one of the lounges where they would have executive meetings. Like, hey, can we have this room? Everyone would buy beer and we'd just go play.
Yeah, there was a lot of money being
it was dumb.
lost. And your brother kept a book of who owed who.
Right.
And Mitch told a story on his show that Skip lost a bunch of money to Mitch at one point. Maybe it was in Paris.
Skip had to work on bikes for free for Mitch to pay it off. Did he tell that part of the story? That was the deal. Instead of that, you're working on all this other shit. So Skip's like Jeremy's mechanic and would fucking come up here on a weekend. He's on the road 195 nights a year, and he had to come here 3 days a week just to work on bikes for free.
Well, he lost a bunch of money to Mitch, and Mitch goes, look, I'll call it even. You just take that black book you have and throw it away. And Skip goes, nope.
Work on bikes for free to pay it off. Yeah, but
because it would always get down to, bro, I can't $30,000, I can't. Give me a chance. Double or nothing. Cut the cards.
That's what I was going to say. It came down to, all right, we're done. Whoever owes anybody, let's cut the cards, double or nothing. Gnarly. So, if it was, and dude, Palm owed Skip $30,000 on a Tuesday night poker. The most tolerant wife in the world, dude. My wife would sit there and all us derelicts are drinking and playing cards till 2 in the morning. We had to work the next day. You guys did, right? But it's $30,000 and Palm's standing up, mad and nervous. Skip's just chilling like it's $2 in the pot. And Palm's like, you know I'm good for it, Norfolk. You know I'm good. And Skip's like, I wouldn't be doing this if you weren't. Just looks him right in the eyes like I wouldn't. Palm wins. Skip's on the floor crying, mentally, I just lost $30,000. Well, Palm owed me $1,500, double or nothing. I flip, he flips, he owes me $3,000. The deal was you would end up with an IOU, and you had to keep the IOU. And the next time you saw that person, it could be at the grocery store, you could be at Vaughn's, and it'd be like, RL, what's up, dude? And if you had it on you, he had to go to the bank, get the money, and give it to you right now. So,
you guys are hiding out.
Dude, and you had to have it, because if you didn't have it on you, and they saw you, do you have it on you? It was a wash. See you Tuesday night, dude, you just lost $1,500, so $3,000 or whatever. So, here's one story. I owed Jeremy $700. It's been 5 months I haven't seen him. Anaheim 1's coming up. Go to Anaheim 1 press day. Go over and see Jeremy, and Button owed me $1,000 at the time too. So I go over to Jeremy first, and Jeremy's like, Norfolk, got something for you. He goes and he brings out this, it looked like a Dead Sea Scroll piece of paper. You could barely even see what it was. So he went into his locker, comes out, and he goes, I got it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's it, dude. And he goes, look, I'm going to tell you why I know it's it. We were at Havasu, and my wallet went in the lake. And I fucking got it and aired this thing out, set it over on the side separate. I'm like, really? So I'm like, God, now I gotta pay him today. I'm at the race. I got work to do. So I'm like, Button owes me money. I'm gonna go see Button. Went up to Button, I'm like, dude, here, look. Bam, Yamaha U, and Bud's like, so Button paid me, and then I went and paid Jared.
Yeah.
But it was like, that was the deal. I got a good Kevin Windham one.
Your brother had to pay me. It wasn't a wild amount. It was just a couple $1,000, which, you know, a couple $1,000.
Well, you didn't play poker that many times. Like, you would come over and watch some, you'd play some, and I remember your excuse was, you were riding for Mitch, and you're like, you saw the house that I bought, and you know how I raised for you. Do you really think I have money to burn?
Look, man,
It ain't happening.
I'm low rent.
You would come in with $50 and be like, oh, I'm out, guys. Like 7:30, you're gone. Like, out.
Once I was out of money, I was
Over.
gone. Yeah. And those big pots, I'm like, no. I just, even if I had a decent hand, I'm like,
So,
can't do it.
so
But
go ahead.
Skip had to
Skip.
pay me. He goes, okay, I can only do $100 at a time. Like,
Every time I see you,
yeah.
He would, dude. Skip was $20 billing 20 different guys every weekend.
Because he's like, if my wife finds out,
She's gonna kill me.
And you feel bad, like I wish we could just everybody just squash it.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
No,
those
you
two
couldn't.
guys that held on, and
Yeah.
I guess if you're gonna play, you gotta pay, right?
You'll like this Wyndham story. Okay, so Kevin, he's 18, and he buys like that house
Big
in Corona.
gambler.
Yeah, but he's 18 at the time. He bought that big house in Corona
Okay.
and just moved in. So like Muffin and Muffin and Dowd lived there. Allie and Kevin.
Okay.
So Kevin comes down for a Tuesday night poker game. He has no idea what he's getting himself into, and we murdered him. We just destroyed him. So at the end of the night, he owed me $1,500. All right, let's cut for it. And the whole time he's talking about this girl, Dottie. Oh, Dottie this and Dottie that, Dottie this, and Allie's there snorting it. It was hilarious. So I'm like, we cut, and I win. So now he owes me $3,000. So he's like, let's do it again. I'm like, here's the deal. If I win this one, you still only owe me $3,000. But we're gonna go to the World Mini. Dude, this is Tuesday. World Mini starts on like Thursday. Or World Mini, right in Vegas. Because it was a weekend of racing off. We're going to go Thursday night to the Mini O's. Me, you, Allie, Muffin. 4-door pickup trucks just came out. So you bought this big 4-door pickup truck. I'm like, you got room. We're going to drive there. You're going to fly Dottie to Vegas from Louisiana. We're going to pick her up, and you're paying for the whole trip for everybody. And we're going to share a hotel room, and we're coming back Sunday. And you only owe me $3,000 instead of $6,000. Plus, the next race you win, you have to say, I need to thank S&D for my whole shot tips, or you owe me the full amount of money. So I gave him a 50% discount with all these conditions. And he was like, sounds good. So yeah, I'm like, I flip over a 4. I'm like, shit. He flips a 2.
No, he doesn't.
And I'm like, wow. So that's how I finally met Dottie. Dude, I go up to his house on
dating
Thursday.
at that time?
Yeah, they were dating. But he had just bought this house and everything. You know, they're married now. And, but me, Muffin, and my wife are in the back of a pickup truck. Allie and Kevin are in the front, and we drive to Vegas. And we're there for 4 days. Dottie flies in. Kevin's 18. He can't even gamble. We're getting kicked out of every casino. But Kevin's like, I think I look older when I have a hat on. So we would walk into like the Riviera, and he would go straight to the shop, boom, buy a Riviera hat. And dude, those hats were like old trucker ones. Plus he has this big head with all this hair. So it was like a yarmulke with a bill sitting way up high. Like, dude, no, you look 4. And we would sit there gambling for like 30 minutes, and they're like, can we see your ID? We're like, shit. So every night we would go, and Kevin would buy 4 different hats from different.
He's got an arsenal of hats.
Oh, dude, there was all these hats. He would do, I swear I look older. Like, dude, it's not working. We ended up at Slots of Fun every single night. Slots of Fun.
Shittiest place.
Oh, dude, it was like cigarette burns all over the place, throw up everywhere. But that's where we ended up every single night. And get this, it gets better. So he had just won the West Coast Supercross, right? So the next race was Charlotte, right? And Kevin's there racing the 250.
Yeah, that's right. He podiumed, didn't he? Or
He won.
That's right.
I'm there to race, and I'm like, I'm making $3,000. There's no way he's his first 250 race
all
ever.
hyped, yeah.
He wins it. I think he battled with Yogi a little bit because it was like a mud race.
Yeah, I was at the track.
So I'm there. So I'm like, I don't want to be like goes by, and I'm like hiding. I'm like, I don't want him to see me because he'll remember. I'm like, I'm going to make $3,000 right now. Gets up on the podium, and I'm like on the side of the podium, and I go and I'm looking up.
peering around.
Dude, and they go, Kevin Wyndham, your first 250 race, blah, 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 blah. He goes, dude, all I can say is I need to thank SND for all the hole shot tips. We've been working all week on it. And I'm like, damn it! And he looks over at me and he saw me, bastard. I like totally gave myself, I thought I was being cool, but yeah, but he actually, the first Supercross win that came out.
I'm going to have to pull that tape up. That's common.
Yeah, that's fine. But then Palmer, because Palmer would disappear.
Oh yeah, that's Palm's move. So he was living in Lonnie's house at that point.
Right.
She had moved somewhere else, and he was renting her house. So
Right.
he was right down the street from RL, right down the street from Chad Watts, who was Ricky's mechanic, and 2 blocks away from us.
Right. We had a cool neighborhood.
It was so.
We had so much
it
fun.
was really a fun neighborhood. You got some Palm stories. Let's hear them.
So I'll tell you a gambling one. Like I already talked about how he's the worst gambler in the world,
Okay.
and he had more money than everyone. So we were like, dude, he probably paid 3 years of my mortgages.
Is that right?
He has no idea.
You lost a lot of money here.
He lost a lot of money, but it would get worse. So he would lose, and the deal was the next time you saw someone, well, he's like, I'm going to Japan for 4 weeks. So we'd be like, the next day in the afternoon, you drive over there, this garage open, you go hang out with that person, right?
Yeah.
We're throwing darts, and it's me and RL, and we're throwing darts in the garage, and all of a sudden, halfway in the yard, Palm just gets out, and he's got hundreds, and he comes over and just goes, whoosh, throws them like this, like Randy owed Randy $2,000 and me $3,000, throws it on the floor, he'd pick it up like a stripper, get in his truck, and he'd disappear for a month. No one would even know where he was. And we're like, that was pretty cool. How much did he owe you? I don't remember. I think that one's mine. Yeah, and he would just disappear. So, and that would happen all the time. So, one night, my mom and dad fly in, and they're staying at our house. And we're talking about the earthquake that just happened, whatever. Middle of the night, 2 in the morning. Just hear this. Like, what is going on? My dad comes running up the hall. He's like, I think we're having an earthquake. And then we hear this boom, loud noise. I'm like, no, it's not an earthquake. Run up to the garage, and we hear this taking off. Someone had come, and I lived on the end at that little T in the road where you go this way. The golf course was there.
I know exactly where the story is going.
So somebody thought it'd be a good idea to do donuts. Got out of control, hit the curb, boom, flipped my mailbox over, hit the brick like where the palm tree was and stuff. Dude, there was pieces of plastic, shards of metal. Like I'm like, what in the dude? It's 3 in the morning, and we heard it. It was like, it's just some kids, blah 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 blah. So like, Voorhees is living with Palm at the time. So it's like a week later.
Kurt Voorhees was one of the guys in the 50 segment in Crusty Demons of Dirt.
He's a mountain biker.
Long-time mountain bike guy. Buddies with Palmer.
Right. So like I rode my bicycle over to hang out with those guys or whatever, and I see Palm had just bought this big Dodge truck, all lifted and everything, and it's like on brakes and the wheels off and stuff, and I was going to turn right to go into like factory and field, and I'm like, factory and RL's, were the right, and I'm like, the hell, so I cruise down there, and Voorhees is in the garage. I'm like, dude, is Palm home? He's like, no, he's wherever. I'm like, what happened to the truck? He's like, you don't know. I'm like, no. He goes, dude, like a week ago, we got all shitty, and Palm thought it'd be a good idea to go do donuts in your front yard, and smashed the curb, dude, broke the wheels off. We made it home on like 3.5 wheels, and it's been sitting here like this for a week. I'm like, that was you guys? And he goes, he didn't tell you? I'm like, no, are you kidding me? Yeah, totally just, dude, did like $5,000 of damage to his truck in my front yard.
So after that, and I don't know if they were...
And just roadied my yard. My yard was a mess. Dude. Brakes were all broken off and stuff.
I remember coming down to see it.
You going, what's all this?
Yeah. Well, then Michael Brandis took the reins on the whole doing donuts thing. You remember any of that?
No, I heard the stories.
The cul-de-sac that was right in front of my yard,
right?
Where the street would obviously open up, he would do donuts in there all the time. And I don't know if he ever hit anything, but he started going and doing burnouts in people's yards. He'd back his truck into your yard, into your grass,
just let it
break up and just line it up and throw shit all over your house.
Right.
And just roost grass and mud up on your house. And do you remember he lived over in at the bottom of Tuscany Hills?
Yeah.
Well, Lusk had a house there.
Right.
Tracy Johnson, there's a bunch of guys. Langston.
On the other side of Canyon Lake.
Yeah. And so he pulled into Yogi's yard, because he lived 2 houses down from
Right.
him. Like he wouldn't.
No, it was him. Like everyone knew the stories anyway.
Yeah, and Brandis was hammer drunk,
Right.
90% of the time anyway. So he just leaves this big old freaking Dale Earnhardt burnout in his front grass, throws mud and shit all over.
Right.
You at least keep him nice.
Right.
Well, he lives 3 houses down. The next morning, Yogi comes
Truck's
out.
all muddy.
Yeah, all over the grass and shit. It's like, dude, you live right here. You think you can't put these together?
Oh, that's funny.
That was a pandemic for a while, man.
Jeez.
Anyway. So, yeah, and Paul will do that. He'll just disappear. He still does that. He'll show up at my house. I haven't seen him in 4 years. And he'll just cruise in some new caddy. What's up, dude?
Dude, he's such a good guy though. Like out of nowhere, I'm in Dallas and you hear about these floods and everything's going on. Dude, Palm just calls me out of nowhere. He's like, dude, I'm just checking in. Are you all right? Kind of thing. And we just all of a sudden we start talking. And I think I sent you a picture of Palm because he's like, dude, I miss your pretty face. So I sent him a picture and I'm like, yeah, I got a gray beard. Screw you for judging me. And then he sends me that picture of him. He's like, oh, I ain't judging anyone. I'm like, good God, you're ugly as shit. What happened to you, dude? He looks like the, I don't know. He's so awesome. But we text and talk.
Yeah.
Once a month probably, but yeah, he's a good one. But he, dude, like, and he sucked at everything except for mountain biking, snowboarding, and riding dirt bikes. And drinking. He was good at all of those.
He could ski.
And ski. Well, I'd tell you that was snowboarding. But he's like, we would golf all the time, right? Beaker was working at the golf course. Like, Beaker wasn't working in the industry yet. He was like the cart boy.
Is that how did Beaker get in? He knew Jeremy Lou or something, right?
From being a cart guy at Menifee Lakes Golf Course.
Okay.
And we would go over there, and then it's like, I think, started inviting him to parties and stuff, and yeah, that's how Beaker got it.
Okay.
But, like, Swap had a golf cart.
Yeah.
You and I did, and we would go do the rentals, but Swap had a golf cart. So it's like, me, Swap, and Phil are going to go golfing. We get over there and Shawn Palmer. So Palm's in my golf cart. Dude, we get like on the 3rd hole, and it's starting to rain, and then it's like rain. Phil and Swap tee off, and Palm's like, dude, let's just be done. So we just go, take this, and we're going back. Like, we'll just go back. We get up there, and the putting greens are there, and Palm goes, who's in first for $100? Stop. Okay, let's putt. Pouring down rain. And it's like a 100-foot putt, and Palm putts it within like 2 feet. I'm like, seriously? Like, well, I putted up and make it. It's like the craziest putt. I mean, we were so far away. It's like double or nothing. I'm like, here we go. This is how it starts. Within 15 minutes, he owed me $2,000. We go to leave, and he goes, hang on. And he gets in the cart, drives right down to the lake, takes his golf bag off, and just goes, right into the lake, comes back up, and he goes, you getting in or you walking? So I jump in, and he throws the whole bag. And then he goes, I'm going to the ATM because I'm going to Japan. He had to go, like, he was mountain biking at this time, right? And he was sponsored by Shimano. So he's like, dude, they would only let me get $1,000 out on the ATM with my ATM card because it was a Sunday or something.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, you like fishing? Because I fish all the time. He's like, just give me a list of Shimano shit. So I did. I gave him a whole list. Like a month later, like the biggest UPS boxes you've ever seen, it was probably $7,000 of Shimano. Every wish list thing I put on there, he got and shipped from Japan while he was still there. Just showed up. I got rods and reels and all this shit I still have today.
No.
I'm like, okay, yeah, it's worth $1,000. But it was like $7,000 worth of stuff. Yeah, he's just a good dude.
He's a good dude.
Complete derelict. Love him to death.
Yeah, I've stopped trying to ask him to come on this show because he gets mad at me.
That's okay.
I don't want to fucking do it. I'm like, all right.
Dude, I was texting him yesterday. I'm like, just so you know, I'm fucking completely roasting you tomorrow. He's like, you better. He goes, don't forget the Dodge story.
He's reminded me.
Yeah, it's funny.
All right. So after you leave Cinesala, you go to Go.
Yep.
You're there for how many years? 4?
Nah, just like 2.
Oh.
Just like 2. So then Renthal, who was, so Axo, so I told you I worked at Cinesala right next to Axo. Became friends with, because I didn't know anyone, with like some of the Axo sales guys or whatever. Guys like Chris Stengel, I think works at MXA still, Rick Smith and guys like that. And I'm living in Menifee, and working at Goat, and then I get a call, and they decided they wanted to. Axo owned the distribution rights for Renthal in the United States, so they were like, oh, we want to give Renthal like its own thing. So Chris Stengel calls me. He's like, hey, they're gonna start looking for a brand manager, dude. I think you'd be good for it. I'm like, okay. So I call. He tells me to call Nick Hale, Jim's brother.
Were you burned out on your time at Goat, or why?
Yeah,
you...
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was time.
Did you just kind of hit the ceiling there, or?
It was Goat.
Yeah.
There was a ceiling. You know what I mean, right?
Copy.
Yeah. Moving on. So I called Nick, and anyhow, within a couple of weeks, they hired me. I went up there, did an interview, and I'm like, shit, now I'm working in Valencia and I live in Menifee. And you might remember, for like 6 months, I would leave at 4 in the morning from Menifee, drive up there, work all day, and I'd get back at like 9 o'clock at night because we got to put this house up for rent. I got to find a place to live. Susie's got to move, like, so she's going to start working in the valley again where she used to work. It was a mess. We didn't have kids. We had just gotten married, but no kids yet or anything. So anyhow, move up there to Renthal, and then meeting Jim Hale, and like, dude, I didn't know. I mean, you didn't know who anybody was that worked there until you got in. I mean, I've only been out here so long. I knew who Jim Hale was, and obviously knew who Axo was. Awesome. But then meeting him and having him take me under his wing for whatever reason, you know, dude, there's 100 people that work there, right? He didn't have to take me. He, for some reason, took me under his wing and changed the course of my life.
Really?
Like, taught me how to be a businessman. Up until then, I was just this kid full of piss and vinegar who was going to do whatever it took to win.
Yeah.
Whether it was selling more or whatever winning was.
No tactic or strategy into that.
Just
point. So
yeah,
much
just
from the hip.
John Dowd it. Just
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And he invited me over to his house and just talking. And he totally changed the whole rest of my life. Like, the guy, baddest dude I've ever met. Like, my LinkedIn profile says education, Jim Hale School of Branding and Marketing. Like, that's my education on my LinkedIn profile. Just the baddest dude, changed my life, taught me how to like business as much as I like motorcycles, and taught me how to run a business, taught me how to think, and like, what are we going to do with Renthal? Like, just lob these up, knowing he knows exactly what he wants to do with it, but he would never tell me what he wanted to do. He's like, you got to find something. So anyhow, it was like, nothing's more personal than buying gear, right? You'd go and, like, if they had white gear hanging on the wall, you're like, I'm going to try that on. You'd probably not buy it because you knew it was going to get stained or whatever, but you had to try it on. It's just personal about clothes. So came up with the concept of clothing for your bike. That's what we're going to try to make Renthal. There's nothing sexy about it. You know, it's metal shit that you bolt on your bike, right? It's like, who makes the coolest 8mm bolts? Who gives a shit? Right? So we needed to make them care about it. So then he was like, okay, so what do you think that looks like? And he would just coach me into thinking his way without pulling me in. Like, he taught me how to do that. So then I was like, wow, what are we going to do? So I was like looking at Tiffany catalogs and stuff. And there was no internet. Or maybe there was in infancy stages. But it's like the way they shot their jewelry and stuff, right? So I'm like ripping all these pages off and putting them in the mail to cut. I'm like, dude, you need to figure out a way to photograph our stuff to make it look like this kind of stuff. And that kind of like, and it worked. It worked at some of the sexiest photos and just made a $50 sprocket look like it was the space shuttle and that kind of stuff. So, and it, dude, all of a sudden, Renthal took off and it changed the course of my life. And then we sold it in 2006, I think. But yeah, oh, it all. Jim Hale is the baddest dude to ever walk this earth. And he died May 16th, I think, like 3 years ago. Yeah. Right after I went back to work for Mechanics Work. Yeah, such a rad dude. And I hadn't seen him in probably 6-7 years. And then I drove out from Texas. Or no, I was driving from California in the Sprinter van back to Texas. Stopped in Vegas. Got to hang out with Jim a little bit. have a beer and drinks. And
Was he retired living in Vegas?
oh yeah, yeah, he doesn't work in the company anymore. And he was just like, I'm like, dude, this is a big deal for me. He goes, it's a big deal for us too, like because he still was involved in the business, obviously. But yeah, they sold now, and it's all different. But yeah, that was everything, dude, and turned me into a businessman.
The vibe has definitely changed. You know,
Oh,
it's weird to see that too. When you see a company that is so iconic in a time when you're so invested in the sport, or you know what I mean. You see it a certain way, and kind of
right.
put it on a pedestal a little bit, like, oh, this is like a premium brand.
Yeah, no one.
And
can
then you
screw
see
that
the
up.
vibe change, right?
Well, and that was, you know, if you sold to a competitor, they would be like, we're going to leave them alone. They haven't figured out. Thank God we were able to buy them. But you sell to private equity, and it was like, all right, 3 to 5 year, we need to double the business and sell it. It's a vending machine at that point, and you got to get rid of the high earners, and you got to get rid of the soul of the company just disappeared just like that. It happened at 661. It happened at One Industries. It happened in private equity.
Countless.
It's just in an emotional. It might work in banking and whatever, but in an emotionally based. I mean, dude, motos. Not a lot of people. You don't go into it thinking you're going to be a billionaire. If you can make money, it's awesome. You're doing it because you love it, like we talked about before. So when private equity came in, because I think it was X Games and all this other stuff, all of a sudden moto. I mean, dude, sales were going through the roof, and it just didn't work.
As a business owner, I mean, that is always the goal, though, right? I want to build this thing and then sell it and cash out. And
Jim always said, I'm going to sell it for $100 million to Nike. Like, that was his thing. We're going to sell it for $100 million to Nike.
was close.
Not with Renthal, but yeah, he did better than that with Kingsway.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I wish I knew him better. I mean, I knew him. I've seen it a handful of times, but
Game changer.
I never get to spend time with him.
Game changer.
And you had an ad there at Renthal that is pretty iconic. We'll show a picture of it, but it was Ricky when he came back from his knee surgery.
Right. At Hangtown.
Hangtown, he had Seabiscuit on his pants,
Right.
which was
The comeback.
pretty neat. Just the whole vibe was neat. And your photo was the front cover. You got the front cover cut, right?
Well, technically speaking, they chose that picture to be the front cover.
Okay.
Well, a photographer had taken a picture at the back at the same time.
So it was him coming across the finish line, arms up, right? I remember.
Right. So
And Cudby got the shot of him rolling over the finish line.
I don't
From the
remember.
front.
Right, and someone else got a picture from the back. So if you turn the clock back like 2 years, I'm talking to Davey about, dude, got this idea for like front cover, back cover, and he's like, what's that? I'm like whatever the front cover is, we make a back cover out of it. Like I didn't know what it was going to look like, right? But like, so because how many times you would see magazines back when people bought them, like you'd go to the newsstand and like they're upside down, they're backwards, whatever else. But like, no, we'll make it just look like it's the front cover. So even if because we always had back cover of the magazine.
Yeah, Renthal had that spot.
Right, forever. So he's like, it'll still look like it's the front cover, so it won't look like an ad. Like, because they were always backwards. He was like, I don't know, man, it's got to be the right thing. And we would talk about it probably 3, 4, 5 different times at races. The ads were already in, and this race happens, and it was an iconic return race for Ricky. And Davey calls me, and he's like, I got the picture for the front cover, back cover. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you need to see this picture. Like, we can do this. The ad deadline was gone. Like, they were printing in 2 days. And, like, holy shit, it's perfect. Right? So I called Dean Josick, who was my ad guy, lives in Seattle or Northwest. Like, dude, I don't know what we need to do. We've got to get the fonts. We've got to do it. And he might even gotten on a plane and had to fly, like, to the print house or something.
Chicago, I think.
Yeah, I think he had to like fly to the print. I can't remember honestly. He might have had to fly to the print house and like do it there. And like, anyhow,
11th hour,
dude. And it was like, well, and I'm like, well, what's in the magazine? Like, what shit you're talking about? So Davey like told me a couple of things. So we like made it look like, but I just took a Renthal twist to it. Yeah. Like, pro circuit finishes first, second, third, fifth, and sixth in the 125 class, and that sort of because you knew it was going to be the covers or that story's being covered. And then we took the barcode, and I just put every color Renthal pad on it, and underneath it said, how cool is this barcode? Like, we just had so much fun doing that stuff, and when that happened, and the magazine came out, dude, everyone was talking about it.
Yeah. Well,
and
it was neat.
It was less about the ad than what it did from a marketing and image perspective. And I think what was really cool is, like I said, dude, we made metal stuff that you bolted on the bikes and rubber things you put on the end of them. We had spent years trying to make that sexy. And we did. We made it cool. Renthal became a cool brand. And then, like, a year later, 6 months later, Dirt Cool magazine in Japan, remember? That was like the cool one. They did a front, Fox had the back cover of that magazine. When Fox did a front cover, back cover ad, I was like, yeah, that was cool. Like a little metal company did it, and then when Fox did it afterwards, Fox was the biggest at that time. Yeah, so when they did, I'm like, yeah, we did something right. Yeah, it was just cool.
They followed our.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's pretty neat, man. I didn't know the story behind the.
Yeah,
how that
we had talked about, I think, one time we talked about, the first time we talked about it, I think, was actually at Hangtown. And went up there early, and Jose was with me, and we had our kids. My motorhome caught on fire. Like, it was a weird deal, but Davey was just walking through, it was like 2 days before the race, and we just ended up, hot dogs and beer or something for a couple hours, and that was the first time we had talked about it, and then but it happened, it was cool, and he was like, I got the picture.
What was there, from your time there at Renthal, aside from that story, like, is there anything, what are your best memories from your time?
That's a whole.
Because at that point, you're
show,
working now with the Pro Circuit team.
with everybody.
Yeah,
Honda,
you're working with the top, factory Honda,
Yeah.
all the top teams really were using that.
negotiating with Mitch.
Right, yeah, well, that's fun. That doesn't seem fun.
It wasn't even, well, Mitch and Jim Hale were like best friends, right?
Yeah.
I mean, think of how the peak Honda team started. It was Kenny Safford drawing all the designs of everything kind of thing. So it was just one of those deals, and Mitch is like, yep, our contract's up. And I'm like, you only won 3 titles this year. What do you think you're worth more? Like, it was, and I think we just gave him a $5,000 raise every time the contract was up. And I'd like see him in a race. And I remember he swears to this day that I was on the anti-Ivan Tedesco winning thing. He's mentioned to me so many times. I'm like, no, we had money on the line. And I didn't think at the beginning of the season Ivan was going to win. It wasn't like I thought he sucked. And Mitch is like, you bet against us, dude. You bet against us. Like, that's $7,500 come contract time. Like, it was that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, Ivan, his name's on there a bunch.
Yeah.
Right there, right? But yeah, dude, are you kidding me? Oh, I got a good story I can tell.
Let's hear it.
Larry Ward, you know some Larry Ward stories, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, he's going to fucking kill me.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's a good one, though.
All right.
So,
I got to look out for my guy, Big Break.
no, it's good. It's good. So he switched from Suzuki, came to Kawasaki for, I don't know, 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
And Norm Bigelow calls me. He's like, well, we got L. Ward coming over. And I was like, oh, shit, dude, we're going to be chasing handlebars, gearing and stuff. Because remember, he had like
He's notorious
stock
for gearing.
suspension that he would ship to the track and put on his factory bike because he swore it was better than the work stuff, right? Anyhow, I'm like, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. I'm like, we'll figure this out. So Norm's like, well, what do you think? And he was taller and everything. I'm like, well, he's going to be a 971 bend. It's weird how that shit stays in, right? 971 bend. So what I'll do is I'll get on the phone with Henry Rosenthal. I'm like, we're going to laser etch his name for handlebars. Like, he's going to think it's the Larry Ward bend. Like, so then it's like, okay, Norm, here's the deal. There were 3 971s and a 966. He's going to like a 971. So, and I didn't put any bar bends on it. Headed like A, B, C, and D.
They're all the same?
3 are the same, 1's different. And 1's, like the 966 was lower, 971's a lot taller. So I'm like, I know he's going to like this. But I'm like, look, we're just going to have to name laser etch like he's the guy. He's everything. Get him, send him to Norm, and they're, off-season testing or whatever. Norm calls me a couple days later. He's like, well, so, yeah, first bar was the first 971, because only Norm and I knew about this. Like, don't tell anyone, because, like, no one knew about it. First 971 was just, it was like too much tip up for him. And then the second one, it was, I don't know, it was like we kept having to rotate him forward or backwards, just something wasn't comfortable about it. And then he put on the third one, which was the 966. Dude, didn't even make a lap. Too low, banging my knees. And the fourth one was perfect. So it was so Larry Ward was a 971 bend. I'm like, I told you it'd be a 971, but we went through that.
So that would be the D bar, right?
Right.
We'll make sure.
The D bar. But yeah, we went, and I remember Henry's like, why are we laser etching Larry Ward's name on handlebars? He doesn't even, we don't know what bars. I'm like, please just put the laser etching on there. Like, we wouldn't feel like he's the guy kind of thing. We're like, if we can what can we make shiny over here to make, but yeah, they were all three different, but he picked the one he liked, and it was the one that I thought he would want, and dude, like, I haven't told that story, like, maybe a couple people, but I had to wait a long time.
You gotta let some
Yeah,
statute.
I don't think Ward even knows that story.
Really?
For real.
He listens, so he may.
Yeah, I think he's living in Oklahoma or something. I went to Dallas Supercross, me and Wyatt and Paul Steinbrecher, and he was there. He was like, he's building like hunting lodges and stuff.
He's not building them, he's running.
Or running them, yeah, like in Oklahoma or something, right?
Stonewood Ranch, it's
Yeah.
called. It's beautiful. He's living his best life.
Yeah, got it.
As far as doing what he's doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories about him. His mechanics have kind of war stories. They would mark his things so they knew everything was getting put back right where it was.
Right.
Exactly where it was.
He was anal.
And he'd get to the race and go, no, this is all wrong. He'd move him down, move him up, move him down, move him up, you know. And end up, they'd be right back where they were.
Right.
But, okay.
He had to go through the process.
Yeah, it's a process. Trust the process, they say, right? All right, so after Renthal, did you leave after they sold?
Yeah, so we sold the company.
And did you have some stock or
No.
ownership?
No. So we sold the company.
You got that going for you.
Yeah. I got a little bit. I got a little love out of that. It was good. It was worth it. But again, to private equity, and I'm like 3 months into this. They're driving. Imagine telling bankers why it makes sense to spend $90,000 a year to have the factory Honda team using your products, because they always have, and now you're OEM on the bikes, right? So imagine if Renthal wasn't on the race bikes. They come with Renthal on them now, but they trade them out and put Pro Taper on or somebody like that. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. It's not even a race. We're just going to continue paying them the same stuff. Granted, they hadn't won in years now at that point in time. You know, Ricky had gone to Suzuki and whatever. But imagine trying to tell 65-year-old bankers that, no, it's worth it.
No, you can't bring a bean counter in.
Dude, it's driving me mad. So and it was a different world, right? I'm like, I can get a job somewhere easily. It's not a problem. So I remember I told Jim, after Vegas Supercross that year, I told Jim, I was like, dude, I'm out. He's like, do you want me to help you write your resignation letter? I said, yep. So Jim helped me write my resignation letter, and I left.
Speaking of the OE thing, didn't you put that together? Because I think...
No, I played a small role in that.
Okay.
It started with, I think KTM was the first one. And that's because Henry,
I
Suzuki,
remember when something was happening,
but when
you
Honda
got something big coming.
because it was Honda and Yamaha the same year. And dude, that was like 150,000 handlebars that we were able to sell to them. And we sold it to them at a discount as long as we could include the forward-facing bar pad. Because we wanted to have that. I mean, that was, you could never tell what handlebars you were using unless you saw the bar pad. So I gave them $1 off per bar if they would let us put the bar pad on it. That's huge. And then it was, KTM had like the fat bar, Suzuki had the fat bar, and Yamaha and Kawasaki all had 7/8 bars. That was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Okay, so Rick's resignation, 2 weeks.
Yep.
And what do you go do? Did
I
you
don't
have
know.
something lined up?
Nope, didn't have anything lined up. That's how smart people are back in the day. You know, I was married, had a little boy.
Working something.
He doesn't look that hungry. So I ended up, Skip was working at No Fear, and I know, Sir Wall and all those guys, and blah, blah, blah. And they wanted to do this East Coast expansion deal. The No Fear energy drink was taking off, and I'm not going to talk too much about this. So, and moved to Charlotte, or outside of Charlotte, Concord.
So you moved to Charlotte for that job?
Yeah, so it started kind of No Fear East, and they had we had the race shop. It was on Roush Racing's lot. Bought the old Jeff Burton, or at least the old Jeff Burton race team shop. So had part-time NASCAR team. Boris was the driver over here. Product in, and it was opening up. Basically, the theory was what was happening in California and Arizona. From North Carolina to Florida, you could pull the same thing off. Sunbelt kind of area. So open up No Fear retail stores and that sort of thing. So that was it, and that's what I went there for. And then 2 years later, 2 years to the day, I moved back to California. They were going bankrupt, and that was the end of that.
we kind of, as we were talking about this show, he said, I don't want to talk too much about that time.
Yeah,
I don't have a lot of good things to say.
Yeah. It was like, hey, remember the time, remember when you were married and you had an ex-wife, but you caught her banging your dad?
It's about that.
It's not that. It's nothing like that, but it's about as fun as that might be. Yeah, no, it wasn't a good ending at all.
Yeah.
I had to find out through, like, J-Bone was living, dude, we had a cool neighborhood there, too. Like, Dean Baker moved in, and J-Bone lived there. We had block parties. It was fun, and we were having a block party, and I think Coy Gibbs was over something. He was like, hey, so what are you guys selling the race team for? I'm like, what? They were talking about it, like the NASCAR race. I'm like, no. And dude, I couldn't sleep that night, and I called Mark Simo in the morning. Nah, it's bullshit. And then, like, he flew out on like 3 days later. No, we gotta start figuring out what we're gonna do here. It's over. I'm like, dude, I was building a house. You knew this was bad deal. So I was building my forever home there. Just moved in. Like, we moved in July 4th weekend, and this is October. Like, it's 3 months later. So for me personally, I was like, you knew what I was doing the whole time, and you let me go all through this knowing that all this shit was going sideways kind of stuff. Didn't sit well. And then then the marble fell. It was 2008, and that was when then the market crashed. So here I've just built this $650,000 dream home that we're going to spend the rest of our lives in from the ground up in North Carolina. Not a $650,000 house in Texas. I mean, in California. And like, this is it. And they knew it was happening. Let me just keep going through with it just to have that happen. Yeah, it was a mess. I wasn't very fond of that. And then the market was gone. After that, we ended up selling that house for like $300,000 a year later.
So you took a battle.
Oh, dude, yeah. So, or it could be, the story could be as fun as, imagine you're 40 or 38 years old and you've got your life savings all on the line and someone knew about it and just watched you throw it all away. Oh, dude, not a good one.
I never worked there or worked with that group, but I hear a lot of stories of deals, dirty deals, or deals done wrong with that group.
I couldn't tell you.
No comment.
I don't have anything good to say.
Moving on.
What do you want me to talk about now?
Right, so after your life went to shit, how did you recover from that? What'd you do?
My kids had the baddest Christmas, the most amazing Christmas they've ever had. We were living in North Carolina, so I wanted to try to stay around because we loved it there. I mean, it was just cool. Meanwhile, my phone's ringing from the motorcycle industry, right? Going back to California, I'm like, I don't want to go back to California. We've got this house that, put a ton of money down on. We don't have, it's like,
You're emotionally connected to it.
yeah, well, it's everything that I've done until today is sitting here in this house.
Yeah.
When you put $400,000 down on a $600,000 house, you can have this little mortgage payment or whatever. Like, it's all here. So, like, what are we going to do? Well, I couldn't find a job that I wanted, right? And I'm like, and Jaylen's like, dude, get something. He's working for Joe Gibbs Racing. Like, we can do something over there. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really like it. Didn't like it. So, and
If you're not into the car thing.
right, it just wasn't my thing. And I hadn't worked for a paycheck yet. I worked because I loved it, right? So I didn't want to become that guy. So, but California kept calling. So then Eddie Cole, who's a dear friend of Jim Hale, and I told Eddie a million times, I'm like, dude, you're like the other Jim Hale. Like, I don't think you've ever met anyone that says anything bad about Eddie Cole.
No,
He's just one of the good ones. So he's like, look, we've got tag medals now, which was a competitor to, I don't know, is tag still around? Maybe. Oh, you know what? I think Eddie has it again.
Does he?
I think he does have it again. So we got tag medals, and I was wondering, do you think you want to kind of come help that and do what you did at Renthal? And I was like, that sounded fun. Same time, I'm like, well, Jim doesn't have Renthal anymore, so Jim won't be mad. Meanwhile, Jim and I still talk like every 2 weeks, right? Because he's my mentor. We became really good friends. So I'm like, maybe. I go, but here's the deal, Eddie. I don't want to move to California. I'm like, can I work every other week out there and work from home kind of thing. So we did that. We started the beginning of the year, and I would fly out, because the kids are in school. Like, I mean, granted, it's like kindergarten and third grade or whatever, but they were still in school. Like, can't move till the summer. But was hoping not to move. So I did that. Flew out, back and forth, a week in North Carolina, a week and I would go and stay at my brother-in-law Jose's house, Jose and Amy and their kids, because they live in Canyon Country, right down the road from where everyone was in Valencia. And did it for a while, and then Eddie's like, I think it's better when you're around here. So, what do you need to move? I'm like, and
I need you to buy my house for about $800,000.
dude, he put the down payment on the house that I bought in California.
Is that right?
Like,
And didn't expect that back like that.
no, he expected it back, but like, we'll get to that. Don't worry about it, because I'm like, dude, you don't understand. I've got this house that I built at it's worth nothing now. Like, I don't think and I don't want to rent a house. Like, I want to be solid kind of thing. It was like, I was starting over. Dude. We're driving in our motorhome, moving from North Carolina to California, and we're like coming across Texas, moving back. And the house that we were buying was a short sale, fell through.
While you're in Texas.
While I'm like, maybe even in Arizona, I'm like, where the fuck are we driving to right now? Motorhome, got the kids sleeping, moved back to California, nowhere to go. Lived in an RV park for 2 months.
Is that right?
Lived in an RV park at where Old Indian Dunes racetrack used to be. Lived in an RV park, trying to find a house to buy. So yeah, that's where my kids got to spend that summer, was in an RV park. But yeah, it was weird. But yeah, that's how I got back to California, and working there was fun. Got to work with Big E was like my nemesis at Pro Taper, right when I was at Renthal. And we had total respect and admiration for each other, but I'm like, yeah, he was never going to beat me. And in his mind, dude, I'm bigger than him. I'll kill him.
Yeah.
Right? So then they hired Biggie to work at 661, so he and I, dude, we became really good friends. And it was like, the stories we would tell, like, dude, when you did this ad, I was like, what? And, that kind of stuff. So, Biggie's a good one.
Biggie's great, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, all these people that because there is a group that does stay in the industry forever.
Right.
From
Yeah.
your era, my era, I'm a little bit younger than you, a couple of years.
Yeah.
Like Biggie, like, all these guys that lock in, you become.
They love it, that's it.
Yeah. And like you said, we don't talk for 6 months.
It doesn't matter.
We'll pick up the phone and like.
Yeah, just be there.
Yeah, yeah. So, were you able to do with Tag kind of what you wanted?
Yeah, but it was also short-lived. They sold, and after going through what I just told you, the whole move back and everything, like 4 months we're into this house, and that's when they go, okay, we're moving Valencia Sport Group, which was 661, Sunline, and Tag Metals. On this day, your job is now in San Diego, California. Did I just move to Valencia? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, no. Literally, I don't think one employee went to San Diego.
Oh, is that right?
Because the same group bought One Industries, 661, Sunline, Tag Metals, and then within 2 years we're gone. All of them. They were all gone. Right?
Yeah.
They all disappeared. So then,
Yeah, when you hear that group bought somebody, you're like, oh.
hope it works out.
Yeah.
So the good thing is there was, dude, it got down to where, the warehouse is getting cleaned out and stuff. There was like 3 of us left in the building. And so we had like plenty of time to figure out what we were going to do. So I started talking to Bob Weber. Known Bob since he was at Manchester Honda, like back in the day. And Bob's at Troy's and this and that. He's like, dude, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know, let's go down, let's have a meeting. And drove all the way to Corona and had a meeting. And that's when I started working at Troy Lee Designs.
Well, I was pumping you up over there when that started floating around. Oh, yes, hire that guy. That's a good idea. You guys should definitely do that. And our time there was pretty short. You came on in 2010?
Yeah, I think it was 2010. Yeah.
It wasn't 09,
2010.
it was 2010.
No, it was 2010.
So we probably overlapped a handful of months.
Yeah.
Because I left midsummer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was there all of 2010. I left in like April of 2011. But yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Had that office that I had the printer in my office, remember?
Yeah.
That my door would open up 375 times a day. I'm on the phone, there's like, all of a sudden, I'm like, gee, what the hell?
I'm only the marketing director. Make as many copies as you need. This phone call's not important.
And that was your old office, I think, or something, right?
It wasn't mine. I was in the race shop.
Right.
And then I got stuck in a little cubicle for a while, but we didn't have AC back there, so you were living the life.
I had it good.
Yeah, you had it great. TLD's an interesting spot, because I think that it's gotten a lot better with the new owners that came in.
Right.
Troy
But
sold a
owners from the
percentage.
motorcycle
Right.
industry, like they get it, and they'll leave it alone for the most part.
Well, they understood. So the new owners came from Volcom.
Right.
And that group, and so they understand a brand. They understand how that works. It's not just
You can screw it up real easy.
really. In fact, maybe when you were there, the guy that was running it, I don't want to say the names, but he was a very bean counter dude. He's a retail guy.
Right.
It was just like numbers in, numbers out, and everyone's like, whoa. He was slashing budgets. Like one of the marketing budgets got cut 100%.
That's all?
That's it. That's all they
Cool.
took out was about 100%.
Yeah, there wasn't much when I got there. There wasn't much. I'm like, what the hell are we gonna do?
Yeah, he was at the helm when you came. So anyway, no, maybe it was just after you. But anyway, not the right deal.
The old Kawasaki guy or no?
This guy that owns cycle gear.
No, that was after me.
Yeah,
That was after me.
But anyway, these businesses, like even if it's Renthal, right? You're making metal parts look sexy. If you don't create some personality within that brand,
Right. It's image, yeah.
It's image. That's the whole thing, and that's what TLD. Yes, they make awesome paint. Troy's paint jobs are legendary.
Right.
Yeah, the gear's bitching. Yeah, the mountain bike gear's bitching. But if you don't know how to show it and represent it,
Put those pieces together.
yeah, it's lost. Right? That's what makes it. And so the new guys get that with both.
That's
They
cool.
understand. So
That's awesome.
It's a really good fit over there. But I think when you were there, it's a squirrely place to work, and especially then because you had Bob Weber and Troy.
Which
So you got
were
this creative-
so different.
Oh my gosh.
So different.
So no different than you. As a team manager, I would be like, hey, Troy, here's what I'm thinking of doing.
Oh yeah, man, go
I
for
love
it, man.
Talk to Bob, check with Bob. And I'm like,
No.
okay. And then I
You're like,
walk
shit,
over
I
to
gotta
Bob.
talk to Bob.
All right, hey, Bob, what do you think? He's like, well, dude, I don't know about the numbers, So he was worried about more the business side of things.
Right,
Troy
right,
was just
right.
like idea guy. And I had to get both of them to agree on shit.
Right, which was very difficult. And literally, everything that you were doing was just an expense, though. You were sucking more money out of that company than anybody else.
With the race team?
With the race team. All you did was spend money. So where's the income coming from this, guys? What are you talking about? What are you talking No, you were the biggest suck on all the funds. That's why Bob's like, dude, just go run around in your little circles.
No, Bob
and
was
shut up."
great.
Bob's
He was doing
awesome.
his job.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, but it's tough. It was tough to have two bosses.
That are
One's
so different.
One's a creative and one's just fully business.
Right. Troy needed Bob.
He needed Bob a lot.
Big time.
He needed Bob a lot.
Yeah.
Well, at a point before Bob came on, they were spending so much money on media, just giveaway stuff. I mean, they were turning their best profits ever, and still
Yeah, not making any
not making it. So, what about your time there? What stands out?
So you were there, then you left, and TK, all of a sudden's the guy. And he was just this,
Everything got way better.
it's so much better. God, it was so much better. Because his dad also worked there.
And the boss is his uncle.
Right. No, but it was cool because TK was just, this is how I looked at it. He was me. He was racer, blah, blah, blah. I think it was his knees kept blowing out or something, right? And then he was like, I'm going to try to figure out how to work in the industry kind of thing. And I looked at it like he was me. I'm not saying I'm anything like Jim Hale at all, but I thought, dude, I could just maybe at least talk to him and stuff. To this day, we talk often, mostly during the off season, about random shit. But he got me tickets to the race when I would go to Dallas, sort of stuff, and we still talk. We talked probably 3-4 months ago, when the whole gas thing was going on. He just called. I don't know if he's asking questions or just wanted someone to just listen. You know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah. No, he's a good kid. Good. Oh, I say good kid. He's a grown ass man, but to me, like, you know, that's what I mean. And we had fun, dude. We did like doing stuff at the school, like the little kids' school and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a blast.
Did you ever have any funny stories with Troy? I mean,
No, not many.
really?
Not many. Mostly because,
Were you at any of those Christmas parties where he would destroy
Yeah.
the place?
yeah, two of them.
Destroyed.
One while I was working there. No, actually the one when I was working, he didn't destroy it. It was a year before that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fire extinguisher.
Dude, and I mean, the stories just of on the road, like hanging from like the moose head at a
Yeah.
like
TGI
a Texas
Fridays.
Roadhouse,
TGI
right,
Fridays.
something. Yeah. Oh, dude, remember just seeing, and it's like, like hanging, laughing, like it's nothing. Yeah, but no, I was never involved in any of those, which was really cool.
Yeah, you stayed clear. So why'd you leave it? You went to mechanics where after?
No. So the whole time, a friend of mine who actually, when I got hired at Renthal, which was like January of '96 or '7, he got hired at mechanics work, and so we became friends, and we lived right near each other. So he was like, dude, he left mechanics wear and went to a competitor who's more on the industrial side called Ironclad. Made just a glove company, but all for mostly oil and gas stuff. And he was like, dude, we got to get you over here. Like, you got to come over here. I'm like, I like motocross too much. Like, I wasn't ready to go. And he kept talking, and we would talk all the time. And then on weekends, go hang out with each other, drink it.
Play music and sing songs and just be dudes, right?
Yeah.
Our kids are friends, and like his daughter and my son born on the same day, right? So we like there's all these, I've got to get you. We just come for an interview kind of thing. I was like, no. So I finally went like on a Saturday for an interview, and it was like the CEO, and it's me, Fred, and the CEO of this company, Ironclad, and then we're just talking, just shooting the shit. It wasn't really a job interview, right? And he's like, what do you do? And I'm telling him what I do. I'm working at Troy's and what I've done and everything else. He's like, wow, you sound like you really enjoy what you're doing. Why do you want to leave there? I'm like, I don't. And I'm like, I don't want to leave there. No, I said, the only reason I'm here is because Fred's my friend. He wanted me to talk to you. Like, so you don't want to come work here? I said, no. No, that's not why I'm here. Like, Fred's been nagging me, kind of, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, it ended up turning into that.
He's
like,
after he's like, hardball, huh? All right.
dude,
You're like, no, really, I have no interest in coming.
It gets no more corporate than this guy. It was a publicly traded company. He was like, hey, how you doing? Anyhow, had no idea what cool was. Like, casual Friday meant he,
Took his tie down a bit.
Oh, just loosened it.
Yeah.
Right. But anyhow, so I was like, and I was like, I had looked at their website and all that. And I'm like, well, this is what I would do. And I would do this, and I would do this, and like, you need to work on this, and then blah, blah, just trying to help him with like image and all that stuff. And it turned into a job offer. I was like, well, shoot.
It was good money.
Well, I was just like, wow, man. And then like, I'm telling Fred, I'm like, well, dude, if I'm going to do it, this is going to be the first job I ever like do for the money. Like, no, I don't want to leave, but and I see it's like a blank canvas. Like, I could do this again. Not in moto, but could I really do it? Because
it's kind of
was I really a businessman yet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, did Jim really teach me how to do it? Because I thought I did, but maybe it's just because I love what I was doing. So anyhow, worked the details out, and I remember I called Bob.
Was it a lot more money than you had been making?
Well, yeah, and I wasn't. I mean, dude, I worked for Troy, so you knew I wasn't. Right? It's like you racing for Mitch back in the '90s.
Yeah.
It's like there were privateers that made more money than you.
Yeah.
Anyhow, no, but I was like, I was doing fine, but it wasn't where I wanted to be. But that was sort of in between things. So I called Bob, and I'm like, dude, like, this is what's happening. He's like, fuck. All right, well, I shouldn't even try to keep you. I'm like, no, like, it's not. And then, so I remember talking to Troy. I go downstairs because his office was right underneath mine. Mm-hmm. Hey, Shawn, man, forever. He had like his Peter Pan hat on. I remember, like, what hat I'm talking about, right? And he would wear it all day. He had his Peter Pan hat, and I'm coming to tell him I'm leaving. And I'm like, yep, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what they're paying me. He's like, God damn, man, you think they'd hire me? Like, I'm like, nah, not with that Peter Pan hat. He was like, dude, that's a cool opportunity, man. Good luck, dude. And like, it was the smoothest, easiest time. Like, Troy's
great.
He's unique, dude.
Yeah, he's great.
And that's how I left and got into the safety thing, which I'm still doing now.
Okay.
And working for a company, MCR Safety, awesome. Electric utility, oil and gas.
Okay. And there's it's a world that obviously I know nothing about, but it seems to be its own complete empire of gas, electric, and oil, right? Like, it's a whole world. It's a big world.
Yeah, and those two are different. Like, but oil and gas runs the world.
Yeah.
It runs the world. Like, like people can be like, oh, gas is $4.50. Thanks, Biden. I'm like, he didn't have anything to do with this. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it doesn't fit your story that you want to tell.
We don't do politics on the show, like, so you're not going to give me.
No, dude. No, I'm not even going there. But I'm like, no, it's like.
There's a lot. There's a lot of stuff behind the scene. Yeah.
Every election year.
But you told me a funny story that you bumped into Albie, who works in the electric world now.
And I'm going to see him in September at the utility show. So I'm like, I'm never on LinkedIn. And I'm like, just scrolling up. And I'm like, that's Albie. I wonder what he's saying. So I like hit the volume thing. He's talking about his business and what he's doing. And, you know, just like when I was world champ and this. I'm like, the fuck is he doing? So I look and I'm like, he's in the electric utility world? So I think I went through my phone. I'm like, okay, I got his cell phone number. So I'm like, Albie, Norfolk, this still you? Because it's been like 7 years.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, Shawnee, because that's what he called Shawnee. And then we started talking.
What's up, my China?
So we've had a couple conversations, and I might even be talking to hire his group to represent us on the West Coast. But yeah, think about that. And we've had that comment, like, dude, think about two old, dried up motorcycle guys. Random as could be. If I didn't open up LinkedIn, I would have never known he was in. Because and that's what I told him. I'm like, dude, you were either like managing money or real estate or something.
He was till 2008, and then
well, yeah,
he had a North Carolina moment.
Yeah, except it was a little bit bigger than mine. Yeah,
his dreams were bigger,
but no,
his bank account.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool because I had no idea, none at all.
So he tried to explain to me what he does. It's like little insulators, little pieces and parts that are part of the.
Dude, his company's blowing up now, and they're basically rep group. Mm-hmm. So, and he represents. Imagine being a sales rep that can sell Fox, Thor, Troy Lee Design. Like, you're selling everything that everyone needs. And his guys kill it. And he's got like the whole West Coast. He's got like he's 20-some reps that work for him, and
he's
killer company. It's mostly on like the engineering side from what he told me, though. It's more on like he's hiring engineers, and like they're selling solutions now. He's just a badass.
I mean, you knew whatever he did. Same with you. Whatever you guys do, you're going to be successful.
Going to get there, right?
Yeah, just hard workers, good personality, good people.
Yeah, and if you would have told me 15 years ago, man, you're going to want to sell fire retardant clothing to people and gloves, and it's going to blow your skirt all the way up. Like, you're going to be so excited. You're crazy. That doesn't have anything to do, but it's weird. So Jim Hale was right, dude. I liked the business, and it's a challenge. Like, this is new. Like, I got to learn this.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It is cool.
It is neat.
Well, look at you.
You remember Sweet Lou Lopez?
Yeah.
He's selling fire retardant hoods, firefighting hoods and gloves.
Yeah.
So he hit me up, hey, dude, I'm working for this company. I'm going to send you some sample stuff. I'm like, rad, I'll test it out. And
he was at, I met him because he was at Sunstar at the time.
Yeah.
Like
you guys were
90s.
battling.
Yeah, we were battling just like me and him and Big E, right? So, yeah.
That's funny. So, having now made that switch to outside the moto world, what are your thoughts? I mean, are you glad you did it? Is it a
totally?
Is it kind of a relief? Do you miss it? A little of both, maybe.
No, don't miss a race. Watch every race.
Yeah.
You know, when I moved to Texas, like Wyatt Seals and Wyatt Seals, Paul Steinberg. I know we had a moment. So like Wyatt, I've known Wyatt forever. Like he drove my dude. We left the last national like at Steel City, and I showed up in my dad's pickup truck at the last national with my bed frame, my dresser and stuff. And you know, I think he was probably maybe Lammy's. No, Slicer was Lammy's mechanic then, 93. He was somebody
man,
at
yeah.
Honda's mechanic. Stanton. He was Stanton's mechanic.
Yeah.
And dude, we're like putting Stanton's bikes fucking #1 over here. I'm like, they're shoving this oak dresser in there, like, you know, right? Throwing trash bags of clothes and
Denting the
shit.
factory pipe.
Yeah,
It'll be all right.
Mitchell, give him another one, and just smashed it all in and drove to California, and that's how I got to California.
That's how you got out here with Wyatt?
So known Wyatt forever,
Yeah.
and Paul Steinbrecher from, like I said, broke my wrist and like driving around and helping guys all drive. And Steiny was, I think he was Swink's mechanic at the time, like in '93. At Suzuki, he still has one of his factory bikes.
One
at
of
his
Swink's?
house. Yeah, yeah. I think it's either a number 10 or a number 15. Yeah, he still has one
Wow.
in his garage.
Wow, that's like
It's pretty rad.
that's pretty rad.
It's pretty rad. You know, the bitch and cone pipe and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
So, inside the world, outside the world, moto world, you like it better? I mean, tell me how that.
I mean,
for somebody who's going, man, I love this, because I get this all the time. Is how do I get in? I want to get in. They love motocross. They love to ride. Then they get a job in the industry, and like you said, it's a
way
labor
more
of
work
love. It's
and no
way,
money.
and no money, and you don't have time to ride.
no.
It demands so much of your time. Like, when are you going to ride?
Right.
If you have a 9 to 5, or you can catch some rides
Or
on the
maybe
weekend, but-
Sunday after a race, a Sunday after a Supercross, you can go ride. But guess what? You don't want to do at that time. Right,
Yeah.
it's my only day.
Yeah.
So I would say, well, you grow up and I got a family. I've got
Yeah.
2 kids that are in college right now, right? Like, got to pay for that shit,
Yeah.
right? But it's, but I love. Don't miss a race. Don't miss a national.
Don't ride at all
Ever.
anymore. Huh?
No, haven't even been on a bike. Street bike,
Long time.
occasionally. Yeah, I think the last time I rode was like 2010.
Do you miss it?
None.
Really?
None. Because I'm stupid.
Okay. Well, we can agree on that.
Yeah, if we
for
can agree
sure.
on. But no, you got there. Like I rode at, I can't even remember where it was. I went with Matt Schumann. Do you know Matt?
Yeah. From
Yeah.
Stasek. He's in.
Yeah, yeah. So he lives in Texas out there. We've been friends. He was at 661 in Valencia Sport Group. So anyhow, I went riding with Schumann on his bike. I think we went to Chaparral or something and rode somewhere out there. And it's one of those things where I hadn't been on a bike in a while. But after like 3 or 4 laps, I'm like, oh, I can put this together. I'm going to try that. And I'm going to. Next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I bet if I go outside, I can probably do. Dude,
Slow down.
and
Yeah.
you can't turn it off. Like
And-
you're just going to try. And then next thing you know, you're in the hospital.
Yeah.
And dude, all you got to do is just slowly take a bump wrong and your back hurts for 6 months. You know what I mean? So I was like, I flat landed this thing. I'm like, oh, I can do it. And I hadn't been on a 450 ever. Dude, you hit the gas on that thing, all of a sudden you're going 100.
Yeah.
Like that. And I was like, I'm like, finish the lap. When I'm like, yeah, I'm done. That was it.
I'm done. Anybody got a back
Like
brace?
tying shoes in the morning like this. Like making noises. I'm like, no. And that was the last time I rode because I can't just go have fun.
Yeah.
Now, I've gone on rides like up in the hills and
Yeah.
just that's fun.
Yeah.
But I'm too competitive. I want to jump stuff for no reason, dude. There's no one out there.
You're not gonna get
doing
paid?
lap times or anything. Not going to get paid.
I know. It's hard to
turn off.
Yeah, we're racers.
Right.
I
It
know.
sucks. So that's why I don't ride.
Well, I think the thing I tell people, like, just a buddy of mine named Bruce. You remember Bruce Murata? Did you know him very well?
Uh-uh.
He was a racer. He did all the gear for Alias for a long time.
Okay.
And he was presented with the opportunity to take over his father's business, which is a glass company, killing it. I mean, this company is high-end glass stuff, right? He goes, I don't know, man. I just love the moto world so much. I don't want to leave it. And I go, look. He has little kids. I said, dude, you have to stop thinking of this emotionally. You have children. You have
Right.
a wife.
You grow up.
You have an opportunity to be
Change your life.
Change your life. You can always ride dirt bikes. Always.
Right.
You can always watch the races every weekend. It's really hard for people to finally pull that plug out.
Yeah.
Once they're in, they don't want to let go of
Right.
it.
It was
It was tough, even for you. You talked about
it was
that,
tough, but it wasn't like I didn't lose sleep.
But no
over it.
regrets now
No,
is what I'm
none,
saying, yeah.
None.
Yeah.
None. I mean, like Saturday, like I saw Bones and Mike Hooker and
Yeah.
guys I hadn't seen in a long time at Lightning's funeral, and it was like same thing. Like not Bones. Bones story's different, but like just. Dude, it's crazy once you get out how it all looks, right? Like, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, but you never think about that because you're in it. But, yeah, there's a bunch of people that I saw that aren't in it anymore kind of thing.
You don't see any of the negative stuff when you're in it. Somehow you just overlook it, right? It's
It
just
doesn't matter.
part of it.
Yeah.
And then, so it was the same for me. I always had a foot in with media or whatever, but when I went to the fire department and now even pro racing, I kind of look in and I'm like, it's not nearly as attractive to me. Obviously, I love the racing, but all of the circus and the shit.
Could you imagine if you had to race against these guys today? I watched that race like this. I watch them all, but I'm like, especially the 250 guys, they sprint. It's like, imagine if Carl Lewis ran a marathon. Like,
I know.
Dude, I don't know how they go that fast on the edge for 35 minutes. It blows my mind. Especially, I mean, 450, don't get me wrong, but the 250 class, there's all the way down to 17th.
Well, look at Dylan Ferrandis right now. Dude,
he's an animal.
Fastest laps at the end of the race, jumping shit that no one had jumped on. The quad was insane.
Dude, I saw a kid just did it. So I grew up, okay, you asked, but he's going to like this. I grew up, there was a guy a year younger than me, Jay Rassa. Well, his son, I just saw it literally last night. Like, yeah, they said it couldn't be done, and then Dylan did it Saturday, and on Amateur Day Sunday, Jake Rassa quads it. I saw it on my Facebook. I'm like, that's my buddy's kid. No shit.
Well, the thing with any jump is with these 450s, if you've got the balls, you can probably clear
You're going to make it.
Yeah, you're going to. You should be more worried about what's
on the other side.
Yeah, what's on the other side, because if you go long, you're in big trouble now.
Yeah.
It's the thing that I hate about especially 450s is that if you started on a 125, which is what we both did.
Right.
If you didn't have enough technique to get through a turn well,
you couldn't jump.
You weren't jumping anything,
no.
really. You know, nothing big that was going to hurt you. Now, I watch guys fumble their way at the local tracks through a corner and just go, but, and they're jumping 100 feet.
Right.
And any little thing goes wrong, and the ambulance is on their way.
Yeah. No, I'm
That's
glad.
scary.
I'd much rather race when we raced and ride the bikes we rode than these bikes now. Like
So when you say, oh, these guys are sprinting the whole moto, and they are. And training has definitely ratcheted up, obviously, since
they can thank Ricky Carmichael for that.
But those two-strokes were a lot harder to ride. Oh, Ricky was the only guy that could do that where he was sprinting the whole way. No one else.
No. And Ricky took the fun out of racing for everyone that was racing because he outworked everyone. He was a chubby little kid when he came up.
He needed to just relax and listen to some Poe Pimp. Should tell him.
Because that's the only one he knew.
We have this running joke for the listeners that when I went and stayed with Ricky in '97, he pulled this. I'm sure you've probably never heard of this band called Poe Pimp, but it was a rap group or rap guy from the South. And he had this one song. Was it "Do You Want to Ride"? Is that the name?
I'm a backseat of my caddy. Yeah.
And Ricky couldn't get enough of it, and he played it. Well, I stayed with him for a couple weeks that summer. He must have played it 9,000 times.
Yeah.
And so the three of us will go back and forth ever since then.
To this day.
Yeah, and the lyrics of that song, I can probably rattle off about 3/4 of it right now.
Yeah, the last time
it was 7:00 p.m. I mean, I don't know why it's just beat into my brain.
Well, we just texted about it a couple weeks ago. I think I sent you like, oh, dude, look what came on my playlist, and you literally just wrote the whole song out. But like, when Ricky was. I think he was done with Hart and Huntington racing-wise, but he would still show up and sign autographs and stuff. I remember I just walked up to Supercross, and I'm walking up to him. He's like, what up, Poe Pimp? Like, dude, that was like 1997.
I know.
But it's still a thing.
I know. It's funny.
It's funny.
All right, so what was next for you? You moved that, you left Ironclad.
Yeah, that's why I moved to Dallas, and then I went back to Mechanics Wear. With Jim and his son was running the company. They sold to private equity. Now I'm at a.
So when they sold, did you stay on, or were you like, I'm out of here?
30 days. No, and I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't up to me. Neither were a bunch of other people. Like Lunnis isn't there. John Caper's not there. Yep, that was just sold to private equity, and now I'm working for a company called MCR Safety.
Okay.
Which basically a lot bigger than Mechanics Wear. And 100% on the industrial side. Like it's all.
Is it more
industrial.
gloves then? Obviously, it's like
gloves, glasses,
respirators, that kind of stuff.
No, not respirators or anything like that. But it's gloves, glasses, garments. Right. Okay. Anything you need from the neck to the knee, so to speak, in the working world.
I think you need to talk about Wyatt Seals for a minute, because he got roasted out pretty hard on our show,
which was the greatest thing that could have ever happened for someone that gets to see him all the time.
Yeah, but I feel really bad because DeCoster dropped this bomb. If you haven't seen DeCoster's show, he talks about
he's gonna love this so much.
Jeremy's '97 season and the things that went wrong, and why it comes out of it not looking real good
At all.
And I apparently since that show, you and Steinbrecher
Roasted him.
just flame him up like every time
We've got the group text going, and out of nowhere, for no reason, someone will say something like, "Oh, dude, you know, if Jeremy Martin would have just got the whole shot," I'm like, "Yeah, if he would have had like a throttle cable that allowed him to go past 3/4 throttle, he might have been able to get." And then Wyatt's like, "Fuck you guys, I hate you. When are you gonna drop this?" We're like, "Never,
never ever."
Like, I wish I could. If you could see it, like it came up again because there was two things, right? He wanted Roger said he had a Honda. Wyatt's like the Honda makes a better throttle cable than Suzuki, and this was the '97.
And he was it was accurate. We used a lot of Honda parts back then. Brake, master cylinder, a lot of stuff because it was just
better.
higher quality. Yeah.
So Wyatt used a throttle cable. Well, it turns out it only opened the carburetor 3/4. So for '97 Supercross season, Jeremy wide
Jeremy
open
never
was
went wide
3/4 throttle. Like, man, I can't believe he's... And he would get like second place starts and shit, right? So then there was another part of that. So that was one, right? And then the other part was that there was only one clutch bearing instead of two in there. And that was funny too because Roger's like, "Yep, so we got rid of Wyatt and we hired what was Jeremy's old mechanic? You know, the big guy?" And as soon as he said the big guy, GL goes, "Oh, Skip." But he's like, "Yeah, Skip." Well, Skip was like, it tore it apart. He's like, "Dude, there's only one clutch bearing in here too."
Yeah.
So he said there's only one clutch bearing too. So it was like, and then he went through like, Skip had to tear everything apart. Like, what are you going to find when on some mission or something? And then, it comes up again and literally like Wyatt found like an old microfiche image of the 1997 RM250 tranny and he screen grabs it and sends it. "Look, dude, it's only one bearing." Dude, this is in 2021. We just roast him all the time, and we do it just because we love him, and it's funny as shit. But
Wyatt's a great dude, and so like when that whole thing came out, I was kind of like, do I cut this out? I don't want to, but man.
And I didn't see it like when it first happened, and Steiny brought it up. We were all like watching a race or something. He's like, "Dude, did you see what Roger said about?" I'm like, "No." So we stopped what we were doing, and I had to watch it. That's the kind of shit you need to come out with your friends because it was like it's so long ago, 25 years ago, and you get to relive it whenever you want.
Yeah.
And it gets to Wyatt too. It's not like, "Come on, guys." It's not like that. He's just like, "Fuck you guys. Like, when are you going to drop it?" It ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Who was the girl? Did he end up marrying that girl or no?
No.
Just a hood rat.
He was it was a chick that worked at AMA at the time. But he was in love, which was pretty rare for Wyatt. So his head wasn't in the game.
We lost a lot of good men. A lot of good men to that. What
Really,
about
to baseball?
Sure.
That was a Wedding Crashers reference.
Yeah. Let's tell some stories about some people we know.
Okay.
And let's start with Palmer, since we've already kind of had a couple of his.
I've told you a couple of those already. Why don't you tell one?
There's not a lot of Palmer stories I can tell.
Well, we're at Pro Circuit. We're Pro Circuit instead of TLD. Tell a Mitch story. I have one.
You tell yours. Yep. I've told mine. I've
so
already
you
told
only
mine
have
on
one?
this show. I got a million.
Okay.
This is your show.
So I moved to California, and it's 94 now, after the earthquake and stuff. And Buddy Morgan's like, "Dude, let's go to Mini O's with Mitch." Like, Mitch is driving out. We're going to take the Astro van. Unfortunately, at the time, Mitch no longer had a driver's license. He had like a loose leaf version of a driver's license. Something might have happened to him to where he wasn't able to drive for a little while. So Buddy had to drive. So it's like, all right. So I drive out across, meet him like in Victorville, wherever, just park my truck somewhere, jump in the Astro van, and we're going.
The three of you in an Astro van.
In Mitch's Astro van.
Florida.
No. World Mini, Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Vegas.
Right.
So we're driving to Vegas. Bones is already there. They're all set up like, it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. So we're driving out Wednesday night. So Mitch was a player at the Hacienda, which was like, dude, little shitty. Probably imploded like 2 years later. It's like only a 4-story building. But no, that's where we're going. Dude, they treat me like gold there, right?
Mitch.
So, like, there's no real seats in Mitch's Astro van, so I'm sitting on the cooler and we're drinking beer.
Yeah.
Like the whole way.
Of course.
Why wouldn't you? So we get there and get checked in, and
Pro Circuit's still got to do business, man. I mean, it is what it is.
so we get checked in and everything, and Mitch doesn't have an ID, so they're not. He's losing his mind because they were going, couldn't get a marker for him to play because he didn't have a driver's license. So he's freaking out. So he decides, I'm just drinking tonight.
Oh no!
And playing with whatever cash we have. So we're like playing craps or whatever. I don't even know what time it is. It's probably 3 a.m. We got to be we're supposed to be at track at like 7 in the morning. We're playing craps, and it's me and Mitch in the middle and Buddy. Mitch is asleep, like sitting in his chair, like with his head against it, like this. And me
He's
and
got
Buddy,
his head down on the. Yeah.
And Buddy and I must have been so just being loudmouths that the guy took the dice. He goes, "We need a new roller. Like there's only 3 of us. Me and Buddy are rolling, and this guy's asleep." And he puts the dice in front. I was like, "Yeah, I think they want us to go." So we go up to the room, and now, Mitch is a baller, so he got this nice room on the top. Well, it's on the top, and when you open up the sliding glass doors, the whole roof of the entire place is like his patio. There was like 200 plastic chairs. Like you could have huge parties on the roof of this place.
Okay.
Right? So we go to sleep, wake up, and it's like, okay, we got to just cross-eyed. Right, we got to take showers.
Is it 7? Are you trying to leave? Like alarm went off at 7, like you're supposed to, or a little later?
It's probably 9:30 already.
Okay. All right.
We probably went to bed at 6. So
it's 3 hours of solid sleep.
Solid. And Mitch rolls into the bathroom. He's like, "Fuck, what? It's not a handicapped bathroom." So it had like the glass doors that you have to kind of get the. So we're like, "Oh no, we got you. We can figure this out, dude." We're taking the bathroom apart so Mitch can get in and take a shower. And it's like we get the doors all off, and we're going to have to put him in there. So Mitch goes, "Dude, just go get one of those chairs off the roof, and we'll put the chair in here, and then Buddy and I will put Mitch in the shower." So I run out there, because Buddy's inside the shower moving stuff around. I run out there, and I'm looking at these chairs, and these chairs have been up there since, 1940.
Oh, no, I think I can see where this is going.
So I'm like, this is how I'm going to get Mitch. Had to be, the chair weighed probably 75 pounds. It's a little plastic chair that weighs a pound. 100 years of pigeon shit on this thing. Dude, it was this thick. And I'm like, Mitch is naked in the bathroom. Buddy's in, I'm like, dude, this is going to be so funny. This is going to be so funny. So I do, bring it in. Buddy, turn the hot water. And Mitch is like, fuck you guys. You walked in at a bad
Mitch
time.
is rolling in right now. Hear the story.
Mitch is like, you motherfuckers. Buddy grabs his feet. I got him under the arms, and we just flop him down on this hot water. And we walk out of the room and leave and go downstairs and gamble. Mitch's chair's over there. He's in this pigeon shit chair. Like, what the? I really am going to take a shower. I got to take a shower. So we're laughing our asses off for about 10 minutes. And then it's like,
this isn't very cool.
Dude, we got 3 more nights with this guy. What's he going to do? Oh my God. Then we were like, we can't go back up there. How are we going to get to the race? We should go home. Like, so we go back up there, dude, open the door up, and there's like this trail of wet mud.
That's
coming
not mud.
Out of the bathroom. And Mitch is up on the bed, and he's putting socks on, and I'm like, oh fuck, dude. And he looks and just goes and starts laughing. I was like, oh thank God. Oh thank God, we're gonna live. We're gonna live. So we ended up getting out to the track at like noon. And there's more to it. We go to McDonald's drive-through because we need to get food. None of us have money, and Mitch couldn't get any money because he didn't have no ATM or anything. So we're like, oh yeah, 6 egg McMuffins, 6 hash browns, some coffee, and we get up there and we don't have any cash. Well, and like we pull forward, there's like 5 cars behind us, 6 in front, and we're like, we're gonna have to turn this down. 3 grown ass men
We got no money.
And we get up to the window, and they've got we're like, yeah, sorry, unless you're going to sponsor us, it ain't happening. And they're like, what, really? Dude, and we had to drive. We just had to wait. It was like 20 minutes of line.
That's the roll of shame, you know.
Oh, it was horrible. So then we get to the track, and, we get over to see Bones, and Bones is pissed. Because, dude, Mitch we were supposed to be there at 7. It's like after lunchtime now.
Yeah.
And we get to the track, and Mitch is like, give me $3,000. And Bones is like, fuck you, dude. I ain't giving you shit. This is pipe money. No, dude, look, seriously, you got to give me some money. He's like, no. Like, if he was holding, he would have been like, no, you can't do it. Anyhow. Yeah, but, dude, I'm telling you, the trail of, and it looked like,
shit.
Dude, and when we walked in, I'm looking at Mitch. I thought he's going to kill us. And then I looked in the bathroom. It looked like a murder scene because that hot water had hit. I'm telling you, there was this much. There was shit splattered on the bathroom walls because we had to take it all apart. So, like, the whole bathroom was his shower. And mind you, he can't move, dude. And he's putting his socks on. He goes, there's got to be 4 or 5 pounds of that shit in my ass crack still. And just rolled it and went. And that was, yeah. You saw how fast he turned around,
he
right?
rolled
He's
out
like,
quick.
oh, I know this one.
I know how this one ends. I'm going to roll out of here.
So that's my Mitch Payne
I've
story.
never known a guy who, no matter what you do with his chair, like he can laugh at his situation.
Dude, I remember he always had the no fear shoes that looked like Dunlops.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I can't believe you have more than the treads off those things yet. Like, just stupid shit like that. And he was like, yeah, me neither. It's like 4 years old.
Get some great mileage out of these. But he also, I've never once heard him complain.
Ever.
Never.
No. He's a G, dude.
Yeah, he is
like,
a G.
He's got it figured out. Yeah, he's
I
a
love
bad
that
dude.
guy.
Me too.
What about K-Dub? Because you and Allie, how did you guys get to be so close? Because you and Allie are pretty tight.
Yeah. So Allie was working in
Allie Seymour is Kevin Wyndham's longtime mechanic.
Right. And he wasn't like team manager here for a little bit too at Mitch's? Or something? At one point he was. Later.
He did something. I don't know if he was, maybe he was the manager.
So
or coordinator.
We got
whatever.
close from Tuesday night poker nights and the 4-day weekend with Dottie, and I mean, we became really good friends. So Allie was, Kevin retires, blah, blah, blah. And Allie moved to Houston and was working for friends in the oil and gas industry. So when I would go down to Houston, we'd hook up and have dinner with Allie or whatever. He's back in Mississippi now with Kevin. So I just saw those guys, I don't know, April, May, right? I went out, I had work in the area. And so I'm like, I'm flying in, so I'll come. So I drove up, it's like an hour north of New Orleans airport or whatever, maybe a little more. Hung out there with Kevin and Dottie and those guys, and Allie, stayed the night, and then went to work in the morning, right? Drove back down. But we're sitting there out in Kevin's backyard, and we're just talking about because I haven't seen him. I saw him on his 40th birthday. We went out, but like that's like 2 times I've seen him in 10 years, right? So we're just catching up, and we're sitting in his backyard. I'm like, looking over. I'm like, dude, is that a deer with a collar? Like a fluorescent orange collar. Yeah, it's a good. And I'm like, does that deer have a collar on it? Like, and it's just walking. Like, there's his daughter's riding horses all around. This deer's like normal. He goes, yeah, that's Bebe. I'm like, Bebe. I'm like, hold on. And Dottie's like, no, it's Bebe. So Kevin saw thought it was a baby dead deer on his road out where he lives.
Okay.
And he got out to look, and it was alive. So he brought it to the house, and they nursed it back to health, and deer don't leave. So they
put a collar on
to
it.
make sure hunters don't hunt it. Put a collar on it, little ding ding ding, dog tag shit on it. Yeah, it's Baby, dude. She walks up, goes around the fence. There's pool right there. Comes around Kevin and I and starts. Dottie's like petting him. I'm like, what? So that's when I pulled my phone. I'm like, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen. She comes right up, I pet her, and then she walks over to Kevin. Kevin's like, she just wants hugs. Like, hugs her, and it's like, it's a dog, dude.
That is super weird.
It's a dog.
I don't think I've ever seen somebody domesticate.
But that's like,
deer.
it's a real, like, and again, but like it was a bad trip for me. I ended up throwing my back out and stuff, but that's when we went over to Farm 14, right?
Yeah,
And he's got that real deal racing, and You know, that's where Kitchen's been.
Training is down there?
For the last couple of years. There's a bunch of dudes there, and like Kevin works over there all the time. And Kevin has the best retirement of anyone that's ever raced in the motorcycle industry ever. Like talking about becoming a businessman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's making more money than he ever made racing motorcycles, and he gets to play on his farm and have fun and doesn't miss his sons a single one of his basketball or baseball games. Like, he can do everything he needs to do because of what he did financially. It's a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have to be hands-on or anything. I think he's got like 15, 18 Planet Fitnesses.
So one of the owners of Geico,
Right.
Was Factory Connection Honda at the time. Is it My Shack, or who's the one that owns the Planet Fitness?
It's another one. It was the other guy. It wasn't My Shack.
He was
I don't think.
the owner of Planet Fitness, or was he just a franchise
I don't
owner?
really know what the story is.
Well,
But they
anyway-
got Planet Fitness as a sponsor.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they got Kevin connected with that. He
Right.
bought a gym. Now he owns how many?
I think he's going to own 20 by the end of next year. 20.
And so you were telling me, I don't know if he wants to share those
No.
numbers. It's a lot of money that he makes.
Yeah. And, dude, he worked his ass off for it and met the right people through racing, got the right advice, and made all the right decisions. And then you think about guys that didn't. Like, dude, we can think of 20 of them right now. You know what I mean? He's just good dude. It never went to his head. It went to his head for about a year and a half.
He had a little
He had a
squirrely
good little
minute there.
year.
Yeah.
Suzuki year.
I need to get him on the show and discuss that.
Oh, he's awesome.
Well,
He's
I'm
awesome.
happy for
And his
him.
whole family.
What a
dude.
nice family. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
But when I say he's making a lot of money, he's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And good for him. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I didn't know. I thought, especially during this pandemic, like, oh, man, he's probably taking a hit.
I think he took a hit for a month.
Yeah, good for him.
Yep.
That's crazy. You got any good K-Dub stories?
Other than the ones I've said already, the Vegas one's pretty good.
Vegas one's pretty good. All right, what about one that you can tell, a story that involves Lonnie?
Oh, God, I don't think you tell any of those.
You can't tell me those? Do you think I can tell the Fonseca one?
The good thing is you asked me that, so fuck yeah, you can tell that
Okay,
one, dude. Because
let
I
me
ain't
tell
got
you the
nothing to do with this one.
Lonnie's great. She's like industry
She's
family.
awesome.
And this is actually why you're out here in Southern
Yeah.
California, is for Rick Stewart. Her brother
right.
passed away recently. Lightning, as we all called him,
Yeah.
was the transport driver here at Pro Circuit for a couple of years, and then for Robbie Madison, for Metz.
Yep.
He was a transport driver for years.
Palmer?
For Palmer,
Yep.
yeah.
DC Sports. Oh, and just quick sidebar before you get into it. Lonnie's like, you need to tell the story at the funeral. I'm like, I can't tell any of them with your brother. Right? So I'm like thinking it's all good. And, dude, it was a beautiful send-off and stuff.
Yeah.
And Jeff Blackmore's up there and, like, who's going to talk? And Kalana gets up and talks. And Lonnie gets up and talks. And Jen got up and everyone. And he's like, does anyone else? And I'm like, good, I'm not going to have to say anything. Lonnie's like, Shawn Norfolk. And Jeff's like, I'm like, what am I going to? Dude, I'm walking up. There's 300 people here. What am I? So I told a story about Rick Stewart's boner. I'm like,
Do you want to share that with us, or are we going to just leave that at Rick Stewart's boner?
So, pretty sure that's first boner reference ever at a funeral. But I don't know why I chose this one. But so, like, the last 5 years, or last 5 races were always at my show. The guys all showed up. I mean, in droves. There'd be 30 guys. Again, per diem money was saved, so they would just hang out the house, and we'd play horseshoes and whatever. Lightning shows up, 93. He's driving. It was the first year that Pro Circuit had the 5th wheel.
Yeah.
Right? Then first year with Kawasaki, I think.
Yep.
So Lightning comes, and it's parked there. And Lightning, Mitch gave him, which I found this out at the funeral. Mitch is the one who gave him his nickname Lightning because he didn't do anything fast.
Dude, this guy was
He was
like,
the most
he should have
relaxed
got a
guy
job
in
at
the
the
world.
DMV. Yeah, he was just super chill, and there was no hurry to anything.
And he loved taking a nap. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna choose this one because I think it's probably okay. Because there's a lot of them that aren't. Like, it's not socially acceptable these days, some of these stories. So I'm like, there's 30 dudes at my house. And, like, my mom and dad are here. And we're eating dinner. And, dude, that was a lot cooking for these people.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like Tool Time, I just remember, was the show.
Okay.
Right? Do you remember
Yeah,
that
yeah,
show?
yeah.
And it's like, we're all going to sit down. We're going to have tool time on. And there's 8 people at this table. There's 6 people sitting on the floor, 5 at the bar. My mom and dad are on the couch. Just people everywhere. And Lightning is laying right in between the L-shaped couch and the TV. Gray sweatpants, just asleep. Laying back, dude, just asleep. We're loud. Everyone's eating. And he's just out. And then we're watching the show, and all of a sudden, RL goes, "Hey, everybody, look at Lightning." And we all look down, and he's in his gray sweatpants on his back, just full wood.
Yeah, mid-nap. Just
full wood. So I tell this at the freaking send-off, and everyone laughed, of course, but I'm like, so RL gets up and walks over and just kind of flicks it with his foot. And in typical Lightning fashion, Lightning just goes, hey, don't start something you're not willing to finish, bro. From a dead sleep. So now we're all dying laughing. My mom and dad are sitting there, right? And he gets up, and it took him 10 minutes to get up. Like, he got up on all fours, and he's like, and he gets up on his knees and stretches, still full wood. And he's just sitting there, and he stands up, and he goes, "And sorry about this. I know it's been a while since you've been this excited," and walks to the kitchen to get a plate of food. And then I said, and mind you, he met my mom the day before.
Oh,
yeah. So
man.
that's my Lightning story I told.
That is so Lightning.
But it's so Lightning.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, don't start anything you're not willing to finish. But that's where that was the first Z50 races. Like Were
you at the one at Mitch's house? Because Mitch.
Yes, I was there for that. That was way later though. I was living in California, and this is like we started in '91.
Oh, back at your place you're talking about.
Yeah, it was before like Fro in his backyard and everything else. So my buddy Scott and I, the Sasquatch Scott, like put an ad in the Penny Saver. Wanted Z50 any shape, any year. $45, 2 Z50s.
Come on.
So, like, the guys are all coming. We'll have some Z50 stuff. Well, me and Scott got them running. They were thrashed before anyone showed up. So they show up, and dude, it's like, it's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And Jack and Ann and Tracy came out this year for whatever year it was. So they were
Jeremy's
with
parents
us. Yeah,
and sister,
they're Jeremy's parents and sister. So, dude, the full house. So what we did is at night, Dew would get up on the grass, and we lived on a big farm, back all the box fans up all over the place and shine the floodlights back. Boom, all right, here's the track. We're going to go down here to Rich Taylor, because, God, he would crash hard. But anyhow, 2 of them, and we just go side by side. Whoever wins moves on.
Okay.
Next guy's
Winner
out.
stays on.
Winner stays on. Brutal. Because we were just taking each other out. Well, again, my dad's MacGyver. Wheel bearing blew out of one of the bikes. My dad's like, I got it. Goes inside, turns the lathe on, whittles some shit. He made like 5 out of oak wood wheel bearings that they weren't bearings, but it filled the whole space perfect, beat them in there. Boom, boom. When you were behind that bike, it smelled like someone was barbecuing. We would stay out there till 2 a.m. So we're having these races. And for some reason, Cliff Palmer, who was the biggest guy out of everyone, won every single time.
Really?
But I remember Jeremy got so mad at me. So Jack was like the finish line flagger. And it got down to me and Jeremy to see who was going to race Cliff Palmer. And it was a turn at the bottom of the hill, and you just sort of went up. And if you had the oak wheel bearing, you were getting pulled.
It was dragging down a little horsepower.
It was like
well, you're having a smoker on the back of your bike.
It was like Wyatt with 1 clutch bearing.
You're only 3/4 throttle. Sorry, Wyatt.
So Jeremy's got me. He's coming up, and Jack's the checkered flag, and Jeremy's like going right by me like this. So I reach over and grab his shirt and just and pull myself right by him, like right at the checkered flag. You'd have thought I just stole money from him, like he had a $50,000 bonus on the line. He was, no, fuck that, dude. And Jack's like, hey, man, beat you fair and square, man. Jack's like, nah, man, I know you're my kid and all, but, man, he got you, dog. Like, it was, and Jerry was like, fuck, and like, he left. He was done for the night. But yeah, I got so mad at me because I'm like, dude, funny. Really? It was okay to clean each other out, but pulling his shirt was just cheating.
Don't you dare touch my shirt.
Yeah, no, it was funny. But yeah, we would pull that shit every night. We'd go until whenever. Like, that's what we did at night.
Yeah, that's great. What about Havasu? You got any stories at Havasu? Oh, I was going to tell you a Lonnie story.
Okay. That's where we were. Fonseca, Ernie.
I might get in trouble for this, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Okay. Yeah, it's not me. You're good.
So this was when Lonnie still lived in her house there in Menifee in our neighborhood before Palm had moved in. And
you're crying from laughing.
Oh God, I'm laughing so hard my eyes are watering. Lonnie was, she was. How do you describe Lonnie back in the day when she was dating Fro? But this was actually between Fro and McCluggage,
But she's always one of the guys.
I know Lonnie's great.
She's just one of the guys.
She's one of the guys, but she's also. How do I put this?
I'm not touching this one. I got nothing.
Do I
to do
leave
with
this story alone? Okay.
You probably should.
All right, I'm not going to tell this story.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, it's probably inappropriate.
Yeah.
You know what? I want to have Ernie
Ernie's
on.
awesome.
I love
Let
Ernie.
her on. She'll tell him. She doesn't care.
Maybe when Ernie's on, he'll tell it.
Yeah,
It's a great story.
Yeah,
but
you
it's
can't get mad at Ernie.
Yeah, what's she gonna do? Okay. All right, I'm gonna let Ernie tell it. Ernie, we got to get you on because I got to tell this story. What about Havasu? You got any Havasu stories? Did you ever go with the group?
Yeah, and we actually I stayed at Lou's last night, right? And we started talking about Havasu stories. And
He's the Havasu party coordinator.
And I'll tell this one just because it's funny. I'm leaving the names out.
Okay.
But
Shmeramine McMath.
Oh, I also want to tell you about some stuff we would do at photo shoots and if motocrossers were in porn.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We'd make up names.
I'll make some notes.
So it's names that I'm not allowed to share.
Okay.
So, and that just is what thought this up, what made me think of it. So this one guy who happened to come that year, for some reason, everyone just sort of was like, dude, why is this guy even fucking here kind of thing. So, Lou goes, I know how we'll get him. All right, who wants to get on the tube the next day? 70. On the tube. Dude, he goes skipping like a rock. Like, he's going and got thrown. So maybe he's going 80 skipping across the lake. And I remember going, you just killed him.
Are you trying to sink him?
There's like, maybe he'll just go home if we like.
I really want to know who this guy is now.
I'll tell you later.
All right.
And then it's like, you might not even know him. And we go and pick him up, and he's like, oh my God, dude, you guys I thought we said nobody's going over 35. I'm like, dude, we didn't go over 35. Why would we go over 35? He goes, dude, it felt way faster than 35. I'm like, oh, it's because we slung you kind of thing. And it was like, and the whole time Lou's literally dying going, oh my God. Like he thought he killed him. He went 5 football fields on top of the water before he went in the water.
Oh my gosh.
Going 70 and whipped him. And that's probably the only Havasu story I can tell.
Okay. Everything else completely off limits.
It condemns. But so there's Simon Cudby told me I should say a photographer friend of mine. So I'm not going to say who told me this.
Okay.
Right? Oh, poor guy. He's going to be so mad at me. But he would do all my photo shoots and stuff when I was at Renthal. And we got to be good friends, and we were like, we just wanted to laugh. So what can we do? And I don't even know who started it. But we're like, when we would do these product photo shoots during off, it'd be, all day.
Yeah.
Changing this and doing backdrops. Plus, like I said, I was always wanted stuff to look like it was Tiffany, so it was never good. No, we got to do this. And it was just, what if motocrossers were porn stars? What would their names be? And I don't remember if it was him or myself, or it might even been John Caper. But no one knows this but us 3 guys. Like, we never talked about it because we hung out with these dudes all the time. But it was like, it got really funny. And it would be to the point that 15 years later, there's a new kid racing, and all of a sudden I would get a porn name on my I'm like, oh, that's just, but I remember this photographer friend of mine goes, Billy Landinda, bitch. Right? And I'm like, David Philoman. And he goes, and you know who his teammate is? Tim Ferry. So it was just nonstop. It got all the way down to, we went 70s. It was Bob Handjob.
Cock
Lover.
Wow.
It got really bad.
Simon's good at that. Well, your photographer friend that I know is really good at that. We had some just random thing going around about, oh gosh, what was it? Movies. It was like movie titles, or I can't forget the context. We were talking about a certain girl that works within the industry whose name I won't say.
Right.
And we were doing a feature or something about her, and we were looking for a title for it.
Oh, that's awesome! I can only imagine.
So, Davey likes to play off of movies or
Right.
songs or whatever. And Simon comes in because this girl had a reputation within the industry as getting around a little bit. And Simon just comes in. This photographer, a friend of mine,
Right.
comes in with the bone collector.
God.
So anyway,
Oh, here's one. He goes, Cliff White bitch. Oh, nappy dugout Henry.
oh my gosh.
And it would be literally, dude, it's been decades.
And they
it'll
just
be
keep coming?
a random text. I haven't talked to him in 6 months, and then boom, I'll get like 2 of them. Of new kids that are racing today kind of thing. Yeah. From this photographer friend of mine.
Yeah.
Who remains unnamed.
He's funny.
He's awesome.
Oh man.
Weird shit you do to pass the time.
What about Denny? I see you're wearing his
Oh, yeah.
his shirt here, the MotoXDream360.com.
I've known Denny forever.
Yeah.
Like 80s, probably. I think I'm a year older than Denny is.
Okay.
I'm a year older than Denny is. And we've just, he started that fantasy stuff way back in the day, like a long time ago. And you in Norfolk? Yep, I'm in, and blah, blah, blah. And it was just see him at a race every 5 years or something, but we just stayed connected.
Yeah.
And I just like him. He's a good dude.
He's a great
He's a good dude. Lou told me stories last night. I forgot those guys. We left one of Fro's Halloween parties or something one time, and we all ended up back at my house in Menifee. And we had a garage sale the next day. Like, it was a Friday night party, and I'm like, dude, how are we going to pull this garage sale off? And they were all like, well, let's just stay up all night drinking. That sounds perfect. So, like, at 4 a.m, we got into the garage, and like, all right, yeah, let's get all the shit set up. Yeah, we're going to sell this stuff. Dude, it was Lou, Beaker, Danny, like a whole bunch of, we're preparing for the garage sale at the Norfolk residence on Saturday. And it was like, we opened the garage door, and I'm like, hey, everything's $1. Hurry up. Someone take everything, please. We want to go to bed. And I'd forgotten all about that until he's like, dude, remember that? I'm like, oh my God, I totally remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, no, dude, it's old school. You're just buddies forever at that point.
Would you buy him a plane ticket to come out here and be on this show if you were me?
No.
Make him buy it. And
Fuck
just
yeah.
Pay him back. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, maybe he can work on Mitch's bikes for free for 3 days a week to pay for it.
I'll pay for it. I just
yeah,
don't
you
want to
should-
buy it and then be like, hey, dude, your flight's at 7:30 a.m. on this day.
No, he'll be fine.
He ain't making it.
No, he'll make it.
He won't make it.
I buy him the ticket.
You think buy it?
Buy him the ticket, and if he doesn't make it, I was going to say I'll pay for it, but I'm not going to, but you can pretend I am.
Just pretend you said that?
No, I don't think he'll do that, but you can get a voucher for it. No, he'll come for sure.
IOU. Just keep it in
Yeah,
my
keep it in
keep it in
He's
my
got to
wallet.
find it. But yeah, no, you should have him on. Yeah, he's got
I
funny
definitely
stories.
got to have him on. I just got to figure out
I
how to-
remember, dude, he started announcing for a little while or something. Like, he was doing like the
He did
my
the
God.
Nationals.
Well, he did U.S. Open. Remember when the U.S. Open started? Like, oh my God. He got really drunk. It was in Vegas, like one of the first U.S. Open. Like,
Yeah.
And he was announcing, and he was like, man, this dirt's really tacky. Look how tacky. I remember listening to it, right? I was sitting out in front of my computer listening to the race. I'm like, oh, shit, Danny's drunk. Right? Because he started talking about random stuff. And he says this. Yeah, it's so tacky. It reminds me, I remember, like, me and Emmett used to be buddies, like when we rode 80s, and we'd go to Loretta's, and Emmett didn't speak very clearly back then. But most people don't know that. And then he goes, yeah, he came up to me after the race. I'm sitting on the line. He's like, hey, whatever you do, don't pop the clutch. And he says, I'm like, oh my God, someone's got to stop Denny from talking. He said that, on the broadcast. Oh. I'm like, oh God, dude, you got it. Someone's
Text him. Somebody text him.
I didn't have his cell phone number at that point in time. I'm like, He was in the and he said that. I was like, oh my God, dude, Fro's gonna kill him. Number one, number two, he will never.
He'll
remember.
never work again.
But no, he'll never remember he said it, dude. That was just the beginning of his night. It was big. Oh my God. I was thinking, just oh God, Danny, really? It was a really good. It was a great because he was just sauced and going for it. And you can pull that shit off. Plus, his voice is awesome. You know what I mean?
He's got a lot of personality anyway.
Yeah.
So it works for him. He can somehow pull that stuff off, and guys just go, Denny.
That's just Denny.
It's just Denny.
Yeah, it's like, it's just Mitch. Or Troy.
Yeah.
They're just some of those guys.
Somehow they get excused.
Yeah. Hall pass.
That, one of those years, it wasn't 99. 99 was the first year for that.
I think so.
So
No, because I remember...
oh, that's not right.
Well, no, it wasn't, because if you were in the motorcycle industry, there was like 2 weekends you could get married. Like that was it. There were 2 weekends, and they were in October because you had like the Saporiti race and France and all this stuff for off season.
Geneva, Bercy.
And if Donations made it longer, so it's like like either first, second week of October, because Donations was like in end of September or something. But I remember like, dude, we're gonna get married. Who's gonna show up at my wedding? I had a bunch of my friends from Maryland come and my family and stuff, but it was like this weekend, and that was, I think it was 97. 97 is when we got married. But then I think some of the people didn't come because it was like the first year of the U.S. Open.
But Huffman won the first one, right?
I think so. Huffman won, and then like Emig won the next one. And he was on a Cowie. On a Cowie.
So it wouldn't have been
97.
97, you think it was?
No.
I keep thinking it's 99, but it doesn't sound right.
No. 96, 90. It had to be 90 because I remembered some, like, I don't think Jeremy came to my wedding. But like Factory came to it. Palmer was there. All their girlfriends, everybody's girlfriends came because they didn't travel. But like we had a bunch of girlfriends. But yeah, there was a couple of people that couldn't go because they had to go race. But there wasn't a lot of people that went and raced that race either. It was the first or second one, right?
Yeah, at the time it wasn't a thing. Big.
But yeah, but then literally, for the next 9-10 years, we spent our freaking our anniversary in Vegas at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Susie loved it.
Lucky Susie.
She hit the jackpot.
As GL would say, she really landed her ass in the butter with you. I'll tell you. So what else? What are you gonna do from here? You think you're gonna be with this company for a minute? You think this is like your place?
Yeah, I really do. Honestly, I'm gonna do this 7 maybe more years. Ish.
Yeah.
Right. Got stuff invested. Got this and that. How long can you go? Kick ass. There's dudes way younger than me right now, but I love what I'm doing and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years, something like that.
And then what?
I go golf and travel around the world with my wife. She wants to travel because they're from Spain. She just, I want to see the world. And what else are you going to do when you're in your 70s? I mean, we got right. It's just when's it going to happen? Like I start thinking about that stuff. Do you wait till you're 65? Fuck does that look like? Eating prunes? What are you going to do today? I'm going to eat some prunes and watch golf because my back hurts too much to play golf.
I know.
So I want to be able to have some fun, and Susie wants to travel.
So how old will you be in 7 years?
58. And I can keep golfing. I've only had one back procedure. I can probably pull it off for a little while more. That's what I like to do is golf and have fun.
You got a lot of stories where you end up with your back, you making sounds to tie your shoes.
Yeah.
What'd you do to that thing?
I've raced dirt bikes from the age of 3 until whenever.
Yeah.
Dude, the last one was when I mentioned it when I went to Kevin's. My back was fine at Kevin's house. It was hemorrhoids that I had problems with then, which is another great story.
We're not going to get into that one.
You don't want to go there. But the next night, I stayed at the hotel down there working, and I had to go out and all the way down south in Louisiana where everything's on stilts, like oil and gas shipyards and stuff. I just wake up. And I dropped this leg off the bed and go to sit up, and I just went, oh, God, I can't move. And I'm sitting there. I was able to, couldn't take a shower. Found out a way to put clothes on, drove down. My rep's down there, and he's like, he's had back surgery. He's like, I'm feeling for you. And like, we get out, and I'm like, dude, I've got to walk up those steps because everything's on stilts to go into this room to have a meeting. It took me 5 minutes. I mean, like,
when your backs are hurt, it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because in the last
it's gone.
4 or 5 years,
all I did was wake up. That's it.
That's how I get hurt these days. I have had
You ever sprain your neck in your sleep?
No, my wife does that. I do shoulders and my hips. I'll wake up with a hip injury. Don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And shoulders, I usually will sleep on it wrong, and I wake up and I like this one's still kind of tight, my left one.
That's what I can tell. How much time we got left?
Much as you want.
One of the things we would do when everyone was back at my house is we'd race RC cars like crazy. And the track near my house, we'd go RC car racing on Wednesdays or whatever. So one night I was like, let's go to karaoke.
Okay.
All right. Dude, we go to this place and it's on. It's a little place, and so we're 75% of everyone that's there. It's probably 40 of us. Swap's with us, Rich Taylor, everyone's there. Button's out this year, so it was the first year Button came out. Chaos. So, have you ever heard RL sing?
Have
you ever heard somebody throw a rock through a window? That sounds better than RL singing. It'll be in tune and everything. So RL's like, dude, let's do Paradise City. I'm like, yeah, let's go. It's a Tuesday or something. We're hammered on a Tuesday. Okay, let's go. The music comes on and we start just pounding our heads up and down. He loses balance, hits the DJ booth thing. The whole fucking thing topples over. Boom. Like this, really?
The song hasn't even started.
We hadn't even started. It's like, and we're like, and he falls. And, okay, we're going to start this over, everybody. Anyhow, so we're banging our heads stuff. Swap sings. Everybody sings. Butler was so drunk.
He was at Mix Mechanic at the time.
Butler. Dude, he gets up, and the more he drank, the way more Australian he got.
Okay. So Steve Irwin at this point.
Oh, dude, you don't even know. And he gets up, microphone, stand right here. They're like, Steve Butler coming. I don't even know what. Oh, how do we sleep when the bed's all burnt? Because it was an Australian song. Like, we got this.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got this. So the song's playing. He's got his beer bottle in his hand. The mic stands right here, microphone right here. And he's reading like this, and he's standing there, and he's waiting for it, and he goes to sing, and he starts singing into his beer bottle. It's right here, dude. And they're like, no, you need to, and he goes, you can't hear, that's kind of stuff. So I hit a deer, and it was right before I was moving, right? My brother was getting married, my younger brother got married, and I was moving like that year, like at the last race was the year, so I'm like, I hit a deer in my car, so I just need to electric tape this, duct tape this thing together and get me through until I'm gone. It's not moving with me. So I had like an aftermarket hood that didn't really sit all the way down. It was a train wreck yard sale car. When we go to leave, so there's this little guy, Junior. Dude, that's why this little guy, Junior, would sing. Little teeny guy. Well, Junior goes to leave when we all leave, and he really couldn't sing. He would sing Michael Jackson. We ended up being his backup singers. Like Junior and the Mac Daddies is what we called him. And he's like, well, I'm Junior. Who's the Mac Daddies? Like, we got you. And we were like, we go to leave, and he had a 10-speed. Like, he rode a 10-speed. We're like, dude, throw it in the trunk. Let's go. We go to walk out, and we grab him, and we go to walk out, and Butler and Allie are full-blown WWE wrestling on the hood of my car. They're like, and I got mad like it was a
like it's a
Rolls Royce. I run out there. What the heck are you guys doing? Push them off. And they're like, dude, look at your car. Like, we're not messing it up. But anyhow, so so I had to go to work the next morning. Worked at Coca-Cola. Well, I woke up, dude, and I'm jacked up. And I went to work, and I'm like throwing cases of soda where I'm like, I can't work anymore. So I called my boss. I'm like, I got to go to the hospital. Like, I was like this. So I went to the hospital, fully sprained my neck, and I had to go to work at 4 a.m.
This was from the fall
at
of the
Coca-Cola.
stage?
From banging my head, singing Paradise City. So my bedroom at the house, they called it the dungeon. It used to be the basement. It was all down, and it could be 4 p.m. It's like Vegas hotel curtain shut, and it's black as night. So I flipped the light on, walked down. I was at work at 4. I was home by 7 a.m. Everyone's still asleep. There's like 5 dudes sleeping in my bedroom down there. And I go over and kick RL. I'm like, look what you did to me. Dude, sprained neck. I couldn't move for like a week. Singing karaoke. But I did win the karaoke contest that night. And we won, I Took my buddy Donnie Fauché. We went to a Redskins-Eagles game in Philadelphia. Party bus, kegs in the front, kegs. That's what you won. I sang Purple Rain and won.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Purple Rain of
Purple
all
Rain.
songs.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
My mom has recordings of all that.
Oh, really?
Like, the only person that sucks worse than RL at singing is Swap.
I can see that.
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. But we all sang. Button got pulled
How'd you
over
get
on the way
everybody up
home.
there? It's usually a pretty tough sell. You got to be either really drunk.
That's why.
Okay.
It wasn't that hard of a sell. That was the no more reasons. But yeah, Button, there was this one section near my hometown where it was like 55 miles an hour, but then you get near the town, it's like 30.
Okay.
For like 200 yards.
Yeah.
And all the cops just sit there. They're like, nah, they're going to be going faster. So we're coming home, and Button is driving like my mom's old 1978 Oldsmobile. Like, the thing's 500 feet long. 10 people in it. 55 miles an hour. Vroom, cops right behind him. And we see it because we're behind him. We're like, oh, this is awesome. So we slow down. We're going 35. We slow down as we go by and just sort of flip him off, and the cops talking to him. And Button didn't drink that night.
Oh.
I also don't know if he sang. So he had to drive. He had to drive.
And he paid the price by getting a ticket.
Yeah, and that's why we told him that's why you need to drink, because you can't.
If you'd have been driving drunk,
you'd have been in the passenger seat. It wouldn't have been you that got the ticket.
Yeah.
No, I don't condone driving drunk.
That's comedy. So what else, man? What about the races right now? You've been watching it.
Yeah, I love
what's
them.
your take?
Like, oddly enough, I like the Nationals way better than Supercross these days, which is different. Like I said earlier, dude, to see like Justin Cooper's first lap at Bud's this weekend, 4.5 second lead in one lap, and all the guys were second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a bunch of nobodies.
He definitely knows how to just throw down a lap.
Dude, how do you do that and run that pace for 30 plus 2 and they just go?
Well,
I've
you run yourself out of gas so that you can only get a fourth a second motor. That's how you do it.
Well, there you go. There you go. But like, dude, watching Sexton, he had little lines where he would, as a racer, you're like, he saw a ledge. Like, I think I could probably stick it on that. And he does. And like, he passed, he passed Kenny or he passed Eli, like midway through the second motor. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
There wasn't a line there, but like, I put myself in their shoes going, what did he see? How did he pull that off? And then to see Ferrandis quad that thing.
Yeah, it was wild.
Like, dude, that's insane.
Yeah, there's fun stuff right now. I mean, watching like Sexton, Kenny, Ferrandis.
Right.
You know, just the technique is so pretty and so fun to watch.
It's fun.
Dylan's shocking right now. I mean, would you have ever expected that?
No, I mean,
I have a hard time. I mean, I don't. Maybe I'm not the only American guy, but I'm a little hesitant with French dudes, just in general. I don't know why.
So
I think when we've
racist.
gone over there, they're just, well, you know, they don't love us, right?
You're just super racist right now.
Well, French isn't a race last time I checked, but I will tell you this. I like a lot of
We'll
French
just blow
dudes.
by that. No, I know what you mean. No, I know what you're saying, right?
Like Ron, awesome. Tortelli, awesome. I mean, there's plenty of French dudes that I love.
Right.
But you know, you get to know him a little bit. I can't figure Dylan out. Like he doesn't do a lot of media stuff. He's not. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't know about this guy. What's this guy's deal?
Well, it's because you don't know him.
Right. I don't know him.
But then you watch him race. His interviews are freaking awesome.
They're great.
I love them.
So I asked Button.
I love him.
And I only preface all this because I called Button after the race and just
Tell
said,
me
wow,
about him.
I said, wow. I just said, wow, dude, your guy.
Right.
I'm blown away. And this was right after I'd watched the second moto. The video of him doing the quad comes out, or the clip.
Right.
It's like, this guy's wild. Like he was so pissed to get second that first moto.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, dude,
He was in like
you know,
10th on the first lap.
yeah, I don't know. Like, just a different mindset, right? And I said, Jimmy, what's the story with this kid? He's his agent. And he goes, Ping, honestly, he's the best dude. He goes, he is so appreciative for everything that anyone does for him. I said, his English isn't super great, you know what I mean?
Right.
So like he still has that heavy French accent and maybe that comes across bad to some people, but like,
but his personality comes through. Like,
it totally does.
I've never met him face to face,
Yeah.
but I'm like, he's so good. Like his Unadilla, he got worked, right? Kenny was just on it. First thing out of his mouth, first moto, and he basically was saying, "Pretty sure I'm going to get second today." like I'm going out. Like hopefully I can get second the second moto. Like I'm like, who says that? And he's not the kind of guy that would say that. He just knew, wow, I'm Dylan Ferrandis. I did everything. He was in a different time zone. Like you weren't going to beat Kenny, and he says it. And I thought, God, it's so refreshing.
Yeah.
It's so cool, right?
For a guy to just be
like,
sort of open book.
Looks like I'm getting second today.
Yeah.
Like, but this is the first moto. Yeah, I know. You know what I mean? It's basically.
I'm hoping I can get
and
another
I just
second.
do it. It's so much respect because he's like just real. And then you see him get second, and he's the very next weekend, and he's pissed because he knows he could have won. Like that was the difference to me. Like he understands. He just seems like I'm here to win races.
Yeah, genuine dude.
He doesn't have distractions. I bet he doesn't have a million distractions like everyone else.
So that's the thing. And Jimmy said that. He goes, dude, he is so laser focused on one thing.
Power focused.
And
nothing like it.
Yeah, it's true.
It's crazy.
It's impressive to watch and see what the results are.
Yeah, I'm like, Cooper Webb. Great starts this weekend. I'm like, oh, maybe he's going to battle. And he just sort of goes backwards. But he's a bad dude.
Yeah,
you can't deny any of this stuff, but it's just like, what happens to make such a big difference?
It is interesting. They said they started with Euro settings on those KTMs, and him and Muscan are both struggling.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see those dynamics happen,
right.
And Reed said this something a while back where he goes, I think the days of the rider being 90% and the bike's only 10, they're gone.
It's over.
Yeah. It's gotten now to a place where between the
stock bikes are fast as shit. Right.
They are, but they're going so fast that your setting, whether you get the setting just right or you don't,
matter.
Is now
matters less.
I think it matters more.
Oh, matters more. Gotcha. Well, dude, how can you set up a bike? Like, here's a story.
I mean, Cooper Webb's a Supercross champ. You tell me he can't go ride outdoors, but if he's on a setting that's not comfortable, it's not right for him outdoors. He's getting 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th.
So here's a Jeremy story. Right? It's 91 or 2.
Okay.
I'll say 2. It's probably 92, maybe 93. Anyhow, it's High Point.
Late 90s.
Yeah, late 90s, 91. But it was like a weekend after Havasu. There was a weekend off.
Okay.
So Jeremy goes out in the first practice, and he's like 5 seconds slower lap than he was the year before, let's just say.
Okay.
And he comes in, and he's like, dude, front end's too stiff. Back end's rebounding too quick. Like everything was wrong with the bike, and he's unloading on skip, just like blah blah blah. And Jeremy used to like nap in between practices, right? So he unloads everything on skip, goes up, sleeps, goes out for the second practice, comes back, and his lap times are like he's right where he needs to be. Like this is awesome. He comes back, and Jeremy's like, dude, bike's totally different. Like what'd you do? And Skip says the filter. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, dude, you were a mental patient the first practice. You were 5 seconds a lap slower than you should be. I'm not going to set up the bike for that shit because you wouldn't be able to ride. I figured if you got more rest or something, you'd probably get it straight. And he's like, really? Nothing? He goes, no, I did the filter.
That's great.
But
what'd you change?
The filter. Yeah, but that was like, they had that rider mechanic. Skip knew he's just stupid right now. He'll be fine. But think about today's world. If your rider told you all that stuff and he goes in to take a nap and you're talking there with your team manager and everything else, no, dude, this is what well, now you got a suspension guy that's doing this and he's already tweaking on shit. Like,
well, maybe
it's
that's
way
some
different.
of why the setting is so hit and miss these days. Maybe you're right.
I mean, Skip knew that he was still in Havasu mentally.
Yeah.
And then he went out the next practice and was fine.
Yeah.
And the bike was fine. And Jeremy was like, oh, it's so much better. And nothing was different. He just was going faster. So everything was reacting the way it should.
It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant. It's why In-N-Out Burger is so great, right? If you go to a restaurant and there's a billion things, you kind of go, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know.
Go to In-N-Out.
Go to In-N-Out. You want a hamburger,
Double.
a cheeseburger, or 2 cheeseburgers on top of each other. That's all you got.
Yeah, make it easy.
Now they've got so many options. Well, hey, we've got map A through Z over here. We can, change dyno or shocks. We've got 45 different shock settings. Do you know what I mean? Maybe
Where
the guys
do you want to start?
Yeah. Where before it was like, well, I'll go couple of clicks.
Let me set the sag.
Yeah.
Do they even do that still? Like, I don't even know, but it was a big deal. Remember?
Do you think that's part of it? Maybe they got too many options and they're easier for them to get lost?
Dude, you know that's got to be part of it. Because it took so much work to go down a rabbit hole before. Now, you can adjust 30 things, and you're way in left field, and you don't even know you're in left field. Like, you're so far down the path. Like, before, it was suspension settings and maybe clutch plates, maybe it's clutch, you know what I mean? It was very, there's 4 or 5 things it could probably be. Now there's 100.
Right.
There's 100.
Well, with the mapping, think of if before on a 2-stroke, or even early 4-stroke days, fuel injection, if you really wanted to change the way the power was, that's it. Okay, I got to cut the head differently. I got to build a completely different exhaust to move the power around.
You know what? I'm going to go 2 teeth up on the rear sprocket because I need more bottom end.
Yeah.
Like weird. Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's not, dude, most of the work's not done on the bike.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's electronic. It's trippy.
It's a weird time on that. But it's fun to watch.
I love it.
It's interesting, too, to see, like, the mental side of it, like Faulkner. This kid 2 years ago was just
insane.
He's the next guy.
Yep.
And now to watch him, I've heard from people who've been in that pit area. He comes in and you can tell there's fear. He's had big injuries. That last one was a big
gnarly,
deal. Yeah, really gnarly. And he's had multiple.
But last 3-4 races, he's been fine.
Yeah. But building,
but it takes
right?
time.
Like,
it's 3 years.
Yeah. It's interesting to watch, though, those injuries take their toll and beat him down mentally, and you sort of get to watch him rebuild.
Do you know how hard that is?
Yes, that was what I did my whole career was try to rebuild.
That's the whole reason I decided, guess what? I need to go to school. Like, I rode one moto. I'm like, no, I lost it.
Yeah.
And I was like I'm getting out before I kill myself.
Yeah.
And for him to do it, I mean, that's gnarly. Like that. He's got to be mentally strong right now to see it. And he's not pushing it. It's not like he's bummed that he's winning. I mean, it's like 5-5 2 weekends in a row or something along those lines. Like, he has to be going, all right. Yep. Wait until I'm 100%.
Yeah.
Because he's working his way back, I assume. But I think it's cool.
It is.
I have no idea what's going on with him for next year, but it's like, if he got past it, I mean, Kenny's was way worse. But, dude. There's no one that's come back from anything like that before.
I don't think so.
No,
his story's as gnarly as
anything
I've ever seen.
Gnarliest thing ever.
I put Henry in that.
Yeah.
Henry's is probably gnarlier.
Gnarlier, but Kenny had 2 in a row.
So did Doug. Doug did his back, and then he did his wrist.
Then he's both wrists. That's right. Yeah. So we have seen it. Sorry, I'm stupid.
You are stupid.
No, but it's just today. Like, he's doing it right now.
It's just interesting to watch it, right?
3 years ago, he should have quit. Like, everyone knew he was going to. There's no way he's racing. Everyone but him and his team.
It's so hard to turn that inner monologue off when it starts going, oh, you're going to get hurt, man. Oh, that's scary.
You're a special dude. Like,
you are. I think that is
you're a special
to be able to shut
person.
the door on it and be like.
Didn't happen? Yeah.
Whether you put it in a box and quiet it off or you just can somehow delete it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
No, I couldn't either.
And the more injuries I got, the more.
Yours were knees, right?
Knees.
Yeah.
Knees, and more knees. Yeah. It's just the mental side. And it wasn't the knees.
Right.
It was.
You were a mental patient.
Ooh, yeah. I remember if I do this wrong and I eat shit and it hurts and I go to the hospital, and then I'm 4 or 5, 6 months of knee rehabilitation.
Right.
And I remember that pain.
And now I own a house. And now I'm like, you know what? Getting 6th place. Yeah. I can still pay the bills with that. I mean, what's the thought process? It's hard.
For
it's
me,
be hard.
It was, I want to have kids one day. I want to be married. I want to be able to do stuff with my kids.
Right.
I want to be able to go skiing with them. I want to be able to, life is long.
Right.
I've got, if I'm
5 years.
If I'm done racing at 30, I'm supposed to live until 80.
Right.
I mean, I got to figure it out for 50 years with these 2 beat up getaway sticks I got. I better slow down before I can't. So I had those thoughts a lot the last couple of few years rolling around.
It's impossible to go out and give 100% and win if that's even a thought.
I know.
Yeah. No, I admire.
So I appreciate watching a guy build that back and go, okay, is he going to do it? Is he going to be able to lock that voice away? Or will it always be there and he'll be good,
at the
but not
beginning
great?
of the year, even the beginning of the year, and see, I'm like, God, really? Is Faulkner done? You know what I mean? Because I was like, he's so young.
I know.
Right?
I know.
And shoot, AC, I thought he was going to. He did a different version of that, and then that last year, it all came together, and then he's a different guy. But he had injury after injury after injury. But Forkners are bad.
I know it almost got sad watching AC, who was sort of the amateur standout, beat Cooper Webb over and over and over, and then they hit the pros, and Adam came out firing, winning races right away. But then it was 2 or 3 years of injury
nonstop, and
then watching Cooper championship, big bike championship. You know, AC had to just be going, you know.
Yeah.
So
but he pulled through it too.
Totally did.
And he's there. So, yeah, dude, it takes I mean, I'm assuming it's like that in every sport. I wouldn't know. But to be a champion, like you don't ever luck into a championship. People can say, "Oh, look, Jeremy got a flat tire." That's why Jeff won 97. Nope.
No, it's because of Wyatt
he
Seals.
Freaking earned it. Well, everybody knows that now. Thanks, Roger. Right? Yeah. That's why everyone was laughing for, like, oh my God, if they only knew. But no, it's like you can't take that away, dude.
Absolutely not.
Oh, if Jeremy didn't switch to Suzuki, dude. You know how much work Fro put into that? No, that's his. You can't ever take it away.
Yep.
It just to be a champion, you're special.
Mm-hmm.
You don't luck into a championship. You luck into qualifying for your first race ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, shit, I qualified, and I'm going to go 22-26 at my first national. You're a badass. Like, you are a G. To be the guy that wins time and time again or has moto wins and championships and stuff. Like, I mean, I was just going to make a joke about you, but I like you too much.
Feel free. I got thick skin.
Good.
All right.
It's good. I mean, that was one of our texts or whatever. Like, I think me, you, and RL had a text going or something else, and you were making fun. You made fun of a double chin, and I'm like, yep. It's a lot from a guy who Shea Bentley just kicked the shit out of.
All right.
No, I said you're just mad because you've never been as good as Shea Bentley in your entire life. Something along those lines. But
he's got more championships than me.
Yep. But yeah, it's just, dude, it's so gnarly to be a champ, and I wouldn't know what that's like. But
I wouldn't either.
It's crazy to think of. You can think you're putting in effort and everything else, but those guys that are doing that.
Yeah, it's a full commitment.
It's special.
Yeah. And I had a couple seasons where I feel like my commitment was there, and I was really close.
Yeah, you were close.
Second in points.
Like twice. Yeah.
Twice. But that's the thing that makes it, to me, even more impressive, is because I had circumstances out of my control take away both. Or in 2000, I just hit the back of a guy because he cased a jump in front of me and bent my front brake carrier. That did it.
Yep.
Well, I'm not doing anything. I mean, other than I should have got the whole shot and checked out, but like, how's that my fault? Or the next year when I'm in second in points and my piston breaks off and I break a bike. I didn't do that.
Nope.
But as a champion, somehow you
can get through that.
You navigate through that shit and make it happen. It makes it, to me, even all the more impressive.
Yeah, the moral of the story is you suck a lot worse than champions.
Right. So you get it.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm just here to clear it up for you.
All right. Well, we better cut this up. You got to get out of here soon to catch your flight home.
Yep. And you got to go somewhere too. So.
Yes. Testing. Dude, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
I always liked seeing you. You're my boy. Always.
I love you, dude. You're awesome.
I hope some people enjoyed the stories.
It was a little bit different than most of your shows. They're going to learn a whole lot of things they probably didn't know they were going to learn.
They'll never look at lightning the same.
No.
And probably our sport in general.
Yeah.
But, yeah, dude, you've had an awesome – your career in this sport's been cool. Watching you from the business side and the marketing side. And I think you're creative – I call them creatives, like people that are able to whether it's hand drawing stuff or painting something or just thinking up an ad idea, like you're one of those guys. And you combine that with a really fun personality, and it makes you the perfect salesman and perfect marketing guy.
I appreciate it, dude. No,
those MCR dudes are lucky. Good for them. All right. We'll talk soon. I'm sure we'll talk some trash on a thread.
Yeah.
And I want to get on this porn name thing, so tag me in. I'm gonna give you some.
A friend of mine who's a photographer.
The photographer buddy that you were talking about. Hey, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. We'll be back to wrap up the show.
I wanna be bad.
Well, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Fun to go through some of Shawn's story. Again, I know this is a little different than usual. He wasn't a racer or a mechanic in the industry or something, but he's been involved, and he's friends with everyone in this industry, and he's just a funny guy. So I enjoy those stories. Hope you guys got a kick out of it. It was entertaining at least. And we got a lot of cool stuff coming up. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag just yet, but some really, really cool guests coming up soon. So stay tuned for those. Thanks for tuning in. Get over to our website. Check out brand new website completely. All of our merchandise on there. Every one of our old shows. This is season 3, so I don't know where you picked up if you're just finding our show, but there's a lot of stuff you can go back and get through, and all of them are great. We've had some very interesting guests, so check all those guys out. There's also MPH, a Moto E Performance and Health segment that we've got. They'll be one attached to the end of every show, but you can find all of those on our website as well if you want to go back. That's Coach Rob Beams going through some health and overall wellness and performance tips for the weekend warrior all the way up to competitive racers. So have a look for that. Our merchandise is on there. And, anything that we're going to do to give away, we're going to do giveaways. We just did Motul. We've got some more coming up this week that'll be announced. So get on there, sign up, win yourself some stuff, and pick up a Whiskey Throttle Show hat or T-shirt. We appreciate the support. And be sure to always support the folks that are supporting this show. That's the only way we can continue to bring it to you. And I give you my personal guarantee, like I do every week, that we don't partner with crappy companies. If we are promoting their stuff, we believe 100% you're going to be happy with it. So take that at my word. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks again. The Whiskey Throttle Show is brought to you by Yamaha. Join the Blue Crew today and take advantage of all that Yamaha has to offer, including amateur racing trackside support, awesome Yamaha contingency, Jason Rain's demos and instructional classes, and frankly, the most high-performing motorcycles available on the market today. Whether you're looking for a 4-stroke, a 2-stroke, a side-by-side, a quad, a boat, a generator, Yamaha prides themselves on absolute top-level quality and reliability. Rev your heart with Yamaha and join the Blue Crew today. Big thank you to PowerDot. This is one of our original sponsors, and they've been solid. It's an incredible product if you're injured, trying to prevent injury. It also has a massage feature, so whether you have an injury or not, you can use this thing. I promise you, if you use it, you're not going to be disappointed. 20% off using our code Whiskey Throttle. No spaces, no capitals. And it's worth every single penny. Go check them out, powerdot.com. Method Race Wheels, bringing you the lightest, strongest, fastest wheels in off-road for your truck, van, sprinter, UTV, or SUV. They've been dominating the Baja 500 and 1000 and every major off-road event around the world for years with high quality and performance. They also look amazing. They come in a bunch of different styles and colors for your rig, so check them out. You can get 20% off a set of wheels using our code Whiskey Throttle. No capitals, no spaces. 20% off using our code. Check them out. Also, coming soon, the R1M project. Method Race Wheels makes a dive into the motocross world. Stay tuned. Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear, they've got the brand new Scout line and GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. SKDA is a moto graphics and seat covers company with several offices based around the globe. For too long, bikes and graphics have all looked the same. They just start to blend together. SKDA is working to change that. With super clean and unique design work, a bike with SKDA graphics stands out in a crowd and adds a touch of art to the world of moto. Hey, we need that. SKDA prides itself on providing premium customer service both before and after the sale is made. Visit SKDA online to view the current product range and get in touch with their team to get your bike refreshed. I want to just make a mention here that these guys, not only is their design way outside the box, very, very cool, they'll work with you on custom things. The products are incredible. Okay, they'll speak for themselves. But what's really awesome, and you'll notice this the minute you order one of these, man, they give you an email saying, hey, the product's been shipped. Hey, the product is here. It landed in this spot. Hey, it's coming today. Hey, your product's been delivered. They're just so good about staying in touch with you and letting you know where it's at. Customer service is 100%, and that's just something that's rare these days. Check out SKDA. Here at the Whiskey Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX53 line and MX33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number one plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. Nihilo Concepts is leading the way in aftermarket hard parts. With their secondary on-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport, they've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Senna is the leader in motorcycle helmet communications. There's really two prongs to why this is important. One of them is safety. If you're a dad who's watching your kid out on a track, being able to communicate with him about a rider down or a track situation is imperative. You don't want him coming over a jump and seeing a rider down and getting himself involved in that. So from a safety aspect, it's huge. You can also coach them. So if you see them taking a line, doing something that they could be improved, it's very easy to just click a button and speak to them right in their helmet in real time. This has been a proven coaching technique used by many motorcycle coaches. There's also just the simple fun factor. Being able to chat with your buddy while you're out on a ride, share music between one another, answer phone calls. It just takes your riding experience to another level. So whether you're using the 50S or 50R connected through a mesh network in your helmet, or you're using a Tough Talk headset connected with one of those, Senna is the leader in quality and performance in motorcycle helmet communications. Check them out at Senna.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than Pro-X. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, Pro-X makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... If you've got a little Grom that's looking to get started in the motorcycle world, the best way to get them going is on a Stasic bike. They've got multiple sizes, so from your very young Groms to those who are a little more grown up, you can start them safely. They've got controls that allow you to control the speed so he can't get going too quick. They can touch the ground. There's not a lot of noise to distract them. It's the perfect way to get your child involved in motorcycling at a very young age. And if you've got a kid who's already out ripping, there's series popping up all over. For those of you in Southern California, go to www.ameminicross.com and join their local series. If you're outside of this state, contact your local track and ask them about starting a STASIC class at your local track. Get over to stasic.com and check out all they've got going on. Motul USA, we lean hard on these lubricants to keep us on the track and on the trail. And Motul has proven their quality over and over, most recently with their Dakar win with Ricky Brabeck. They're sponsoring Supercross teams. They're diving into our sport again full throttle, and we're stoked to have them on board. Amazing products, top to bottom. Motul USA, go check them out. OGIO is the leader in motorcycle storage solutions. As motocross riders, we need a gear bag, we need a helmet bag, a boot bag, a backpack, a travel bag, a hydration pack, maybe a toolkit to wear around your waist if you're on an off-road ride. OGIO makes all of that, and their products are absolutely top of the line. I've got stuff I've had for several decades, just to give you an idea of how long this stuff lasts. If you're not sure, ask around, talk to folks who've had some of this stuff, and they will confirm that OGIO's quality is absolutely second to none. So go check them out, OGIO_powersports.com, and look at all they've got to offer right now. And finally, last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry. Hey, thanks for clicking on another episode of MPH Moto E Performance and Health with Coach Rob Beams. Coach, I wanted to get into something that I think every one of our listeners can relate to or should be relating to, and that's warm-up.
Yeah.
Something I was probably not great at. I always thought, no, I don't want to do too much. I want to save all my energy for the race.
Sure.
As I've learned my body going on further, it struck me in CrossFit as I got into just for fun as a way to stay in shape. But if I didn't take my heart rate to where up into my, what I would call zone 3, before we started the workout, those first few minutes were brutal for me.
Absolutely.
If I did that, if I had a hard effort and then recovered and then went into my workout, I was way better.
Yep.
And I just think, man, I really blew it. Back in my racing days, I should have done something until I was really sweating and really tired, get my heart rate up. So explain the why for all of us. The importance of it, different types of it.
Sure.
What you recommend?
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. You notice that once you do something, the second set seemed a little bit easier. For those that like to lift weights, we all know and understand second set always feels easier than the first one. Without getting highly technical, but for the sake of the listeners, I want this to be a huge epiphany. When you start to exercise, there is literally a neuromuscular message that goes from the muscles to the brain that says, hey, we're getting ready to do something. There's the blood vessels vasodilate, it opens up, the warm blood comes in, that relaxes the tissue, it elongates the tissue, it brings oxygen in, it brings nutrients, allows us to exercise. Take it a step further. If I've got a gallon of milk in the refrigerator, a gallon of milk is roughly 8 pounds. Over the years, as you've grown up, you reach in that refrigerator and you grab it. Your brain has already at a neuromuscular level knows it's going to lift 8 pounds. So it slams it across and into the top of the refrigerator when it's half empty. That's a perfect example of a neuromuscular response because you've programmed yourself. If you and I are in the gym and we're doing bicep curls with 20 and then we go to 25, the brain's expecting 30 on the next lift. If you go down to 20, it's like, whoa, it's real easy. You don't even realize your brain's anticipating the next lift. How many times, especially for the listeners, I'm sure this will resonate, how many times have we used the first 3 laps of a 5-lap race to get up to speed?
Well, and to your point, like especially at the Nationals, I was the worst. My first few laps were the worst, and that's when you want to be the best.
That's right.
You let that window to pass a bunch of guys at once go by.
That's right.
Which is exactly what I do. And then I'm having to pick them off one at a time. The leaders are gone. Yep. I have no chance of catching them.
Yep. And it goes back to what you were alluding to earlier. A lot of people are concerned that if they do a warm-up, they're now going to be tired. Well, that's because you're not in shape. Okay, in all fairness. And I always am intrigued because if you're going to go, we know our pro.
But I just think it's poor. It's just immature thinking too. That like I only have this much energy, and so I don't want to waste any of it on warm up. I'm going to save all of it for this race. That's just not reality.
Well, like
That's
we
not
said,
how it works.
well, like we've said in our other segments together, where's your frustration?
Yeah.
So if you're using 3 of a 5-lap race to get up to speed, then if you could trick the body into thinking it's already been out there for 30 minutes, it's warmed up.
Yeah.
And so now when the gate drops, you do have that opening sprint speed. That's why the warm-up is so incredibly important. But I want to differentiate something that I hear all the time. Well, I'm physically sweating, so aren't I warmed up? That's a great point. You're sweating because your body does not want to die of a heat stroke. It's its number one goal. That's why when we fall into a frozen lake, it's going to always protect the heart. It'll lose the extremities, frostbite, whatever it is. And when you're exposed to the heat, its number one goal is to not die of a heat stroke. This is why eating on race day, we can do a whole segment on just that, is very difficult, because if you're going to put the body into an executive decision, not die of a heat stroke or digest food, food's going to get pushed aside. Yeah. So we want to get into the subject of being metabolically warmed up. Being physically hot and sweating is not metabolically warmed up. So it goes back to your example that you said at the beginning of this segment. When you do a little bit of something and you get that heart rate, you kind of prime the engine a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem as hard on the body. If all of our listeners were to literally just step away from the show and go run around their house, they would feel all that lactic acid dump in there. Well, it's because the blood vessels are all tight. This lactic acid, it's kind of like all of a sudden you open the throttle wide open, but you plug the rear end. It backs up. That's exactly what we're doing. Remember I said earlier, warm-up vasodilates? Sometimes people are like, it's a big technical term. You're just opening the pipe.
Yeah. It's all your arteries and veins expanding to allow more flow.
Just opening the pipe.
Yeah.
So as you open this bad boy up with more and more throttle, it creates more metabolic waste. This combustion waste. Our human body is the same way. As we bring the heart rate up, not getting highly technical, but you're converting stored sugar, glycogen, into fuel. As a byproduct of that is metabolic waste, and we got to get rid of it. So your warm-up is doing that for you. Now, that's where we get back into the fitness side of things. If you're trying to race 30 minutes plus 2, those guys are fit enough that they can go 45 or 50 minutes.
Right.
I mean, you got to really stop and think about that. And we can go and talk about the Tour de France and look at how those guys train. And it's interesting to me, we'll look at the Tour de France and study them, but we don't bring the same science into moto because it seems a little bit technical. It's not technical at all. What I'm always astounded with is none of us came out of the womb understanding compression and rebound. You've got kids on 85s and 65s that can tell you, hey, we need to slow it up, speed it down. And all of a sudden you start talking about metabolic byproduct, and they go, that's too technical, I'm out. And I'm like, really? Yeah. That's astounding to me.
Well, there's just no question that you need to be warmed up.
Yes.
That's established. That's not even up for argument. I tell people if you are able to go ride, like if I'm just going out for a practice day, I always go out, I start the first 2 laps, I stand the whole track.
Drill, yep.
That'll limit your speed because you can't really rip through corners when you're standing. It warms up all your posterior chain, gets blood going to that. It gets your heart rate warmed up, allows you to see the track.
Yep.
If they've changed obstacles, you'll learn that at a slower speed than if you just go out there and pin it. There's a lot of benefits to it. And then after 2 laps, I slowly just start bringing up the speed until I'm comfortable. I get a good sweat going. If it's a good arm pump, then cool. Come in, cool down, drink, powered out on my arms if I have it. And then from there, I'm always better the next time out and the next time and the next time.
Well,
if you don't have that ability, let's say you're at a race and you're in between motos, there's a big gap, there's no place to go ride. What are some good things that people can do? It's just some good practical stuff.
Well, you brought up one of my biggest assets, and not because they're a sponsor of the show, but the Power Dot. I'm blown away by that. And 100% transparency, I called you and I'm like, does it really work? I'm always a fan of understanding how do these things work? Why do they work? Talking with Chase at Power Dot, the science behind it. I mean, we even tried to get access because Chase was talking about that medical aspect to it. You actually have to have a physician's license. We weren't even allowed to get granted access to it. And it was a huge eye-opener for me because I'm thinking we're barely even scratching the surface of how good this technology really is. Yeah. But I like to use it. You get into areas like whether it be the arms themselves, all over the legs. How much do we stand up and sit down?
Low back is really
good.
Low
back is huge. So I love the Power Dot. From there, again, I think it's cool that they're a sponsor of the show. Jump on your mountain bike and ride around the pits. Like you said, just that little bit of pushing and pulling on the bike, the balance, back and forth, eye-hand coordination, you're just priming the engine. And then the big thing is going to be heart rate. You were talking about earlier, getting into the zones 3. We're very, very big with our clients. We have very meticulous ways that we create the heart rate zones. We do it through testing, no formulas or anything else. We test it pretty frequently. We know that the accuracy of that is there because, to your point, when someone says they're warmed up, if we're not going to go off of perceived exertion, what would be that number? You said zone 3. Well, is that 133 or 143? I don't know. It needs to be specific to yourself.
Different for each person.
Yeah. And then you jump on your mountain bike, and what we do with our athletes, the magic number is 20 minutes. This comes directly from the Olympic Training Center. You get around that 20-minute mark where you do 10 minutes of an easy tempo, heart rate zone 1 or 2. Just open everything up. Start sending some messages. We're getting ready to do some work. Then throw a 30-second, not a sprint, but an acceleration. Prime it for 30 seconds, back it off for 30. Do that for 10 minutes. That's specifically what we call the lactic acid shuffle. You're letting the body know the presence of lactic acid is going to accumulate. What's lactic acid? Converting stored sugar to energy. So that's just a very simple formula that I like people to think about. 20 minutes, 10 minutes even tempo, 10 minutes just a little burst on and off. Now, if you're for the listeners that run road races, it's easy. They say the race is going to start at 7 o'clock. You can do your accelerations and go to the starting line, gun goes off, and you're good to go. Moto is not so easy. Now, if you're a pro, we know pretty much when it's going to start. That's why and I find this interesting. You notice like Kenny and Jet and Hunter, you ever watch those guys at the starting line?
Yeah, I mean,
they're behind doing jumping jacks
they're
and
moving around. Yeah.
And it's interesting because the Europeans understand the importance of it. They don't care if it looks goofy. They don't really care. They're there to win races, and they'll do whatever it takes. What are they actually doing? For the viewers, don't even realize it. They're trying to get the heart rate up. They're not sitting on the line at 85 and going to be at 185 in one lap. They're trying to, and I'm just using loose numbers, they're trying to get in the 120s, 130s because they know they can race at 185, 190, whatever their race number is.
Yeah.
You guys as viewers, you're seeing it on live TV, but not even understanding what you're seeing.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's so important to talk about warm-up, power dot, get on your mountain bike, wear a heart rate monitor, get the heart rate up, and then you're in the sweet spot.
So hop onto that Specialized bike, 20 minutes, so 10 easy and 10 of like just drop some gears, crank for 10 or 15 seconds.
30 seconds
spin.
on, 30 seconds off. Just make it easy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And then if you can get right to the starting line, when we get to something like Loretta's, it's difficult with the long pre-staging, so you come up with another set, some jumping jacks, some burpees, push-ups. Get the front and the back of the body activated.
Yeah, and you could do something Danny Smith always did, I picked up on, is he'd balance on one foot and then bend down and touch his toe with his opposite hand. So that was mixed into some jumping jacks and burpees or whatever, but it was like that proprioceptiveness and balance. It's waking all that stuff up.
Well, think about the three-dimensional plane of a motorcycle. You have what's going on above the seat and below it, left peg, right peg, what's going on in front of the pegs and behind the pegs. Well, your body's the same way. What's going on in the front and the back. That's why leaning forward activates everything on the posterior chain.
Yep.
So breaking that three-dimensional gets everything going. And then the physical exercise brings the heart rate up.
And you have more info on your website about warm-up and all those type of things. So get over to CompleteRacingSolutions.com. All the Coach Rob's resources are on there. You can access a lot of that with no membership. It's just free to you. He also has memberships you can jump in for the year to have access to even more info. Great resource. Can't recommend it enough. Thanks for that. Appreciate it. And stay tuned for more MPH videos coming soon. See you guys next time.
Thanks for watching the Whiskey Throttle Show. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell to get alerts for all the latest content. Follow us on Twitter at W_Throttle_Show and on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Whiskey Throttle Show.